Hello, and welcome to episode number 13 of Missed Mando, a disc golf podcast covering the disc golf world. I am your host, Robbie Holden. Joining me, as always, are my friends and co-hosts, Sean Galbraith and Galen Naidu-Harris. Sean, how you doing, and what have you been up to since our last episode, my friend?
Doing fantastic. Since we last spoke, I've played two nice big tournaments, the Guelph Royale, where I played very meh and average below my rating, and the Masters American Flying Disc Open in Rochester, playing the amazing course, Parma Town Park. This is where a friend of the show, Chantal Badinsky, took down her Silver Series win last year, and my division was basically playing the FPO layout, and I played good for me, and definitely cannot hang with FPO. Absolutely not. But I averaged 21 above my rating, which was pretty solid, and had a fantastic time with lots of great guys in a very stacked field. It was a hell of a lot of fun. Galen, what have you been up to?
Yeah, Parma, notably not just a British way to refer to prosciutto, Parma ham. Great course. I played it late last year with Brad, who I think we'll talk about a little bit later, very briefly, with Alicia. I'm not sure if that was on or off camera. But my buddy Brad Sharp on the way back from Disc Golf Worlds and went, oh my God, this is perhaps the best course that I've played. So I'm not surprised here that you loved it. We did the same thing. We played just like a casual round on the way back, but played the FPO tees. And my goodness, that's not easy.
Tough.
But my goodness, it's fantastic.
It might be it may have snuck into my top 10 courses. It was great. We also played this other course, Big Guys Campground. It was fine.
Am I allowed to go or no?
Yeah. I think they make an exception. Absolutely.
Okay. Good.
I'm definitely a big guy, and I was welcome there. I couldn't buy a birdie. I didn't get a single birdie in 3 rounds in 2 courses.
Damn.
Big Guys was a fine course. It was good enough. It was very different from Parma. But Parma, man, what a course. Fantastic. Anyway, where you been, Galen?
Not much. I just have like 2 things that I would hit really quickly. One is I was at a party with a bunch of disc golfers recently and hit my favorite putt I've ever hit of all time, which was running full tilt towards a slip and slide, slipping, landing on my butt, and turbo putting into a basket that was 12 feet away, something like that. Like, the actual putt was not impressive, but being mid, like, high-speed slip and slide while hitting it, I was very impressed with my talents.
Did you see the Ella Hansen doing basically the same thing after
stole your move? I did not.
She totally stole your move. Now, hers was
it a turbo?
It was a downhill slip and slide. It might have. It wasn't. I think it was a turbo. But the disc was thrown to her. She caught it, spun, and then nailed a putt. It's totally sick. I will drop it in the episode. I'll drop both of these clips side by side, and our viewer can decide which one is the.
Oh yeah. Well, I was going to say, maybe this is our in to invite Ella to join us on the pod here. Is you're not the only slip and slide disc golf
ahead
out there.
Thinking here.
So let's compare your clearly better and my clearly worse putt to see how they stack up. So we'll circle back on that. We'll get Ella on at some point. Maybe. I would love that. So there was that, and that was, a fun night of disc golf related shenanigans. There was a large property where we made some safari holes, and there was a lot of slip and sliding, a lot of putting, a lot of driving. Great time. And the only other like disc golf related thing I've even done in the last few weeks were, I was in BC up until 9-ish hours ago, 10-ish hours ago. The first course that I ever played was Cooper's Hawk in BC. I think I mentioned before that I picked up disc golf with older cousins that wanted to drink beer, and disc golf was also there. But as somebody that didn't drink beer yet at the time, I was like, no, disc golf is here. You guys can drink a beer if you want to. Like, I just want to play. This is awesome. Came back to Ontario, couldn't play regularly, and whatever. But I haven't been back to that course in a decade. I think I played it one summer. I came back like 2 summers later for a brief visit and played it then. And it's been radio silent since then. So I went back. I played the blue tees at Cooper's Hawk. I shot 5 down on a pretty challenging layout with no par 4s and some tough holes. So maybe 1 par 4. But either way, I felt really good about it. I was just like there with my cousins. I rented, so I didn't want to buy discs. I rented 2 discs from the Sportsplex in Campbell River, BC. There was a Streamline Trace, and I forget what the name is for it in Streamline, but it's called Ethereal Plastic from TSA. So a Streamline Trace in that plastic. Yeah. And a Daredevil something that looked vaguely like a Zone. I'd never seen it before. The logo was worn off. I have no idea what it was, but I was like literally just looking at the rim shape and I was like, this is an overstable approach disc. I need one of these. I'm going to play. So I had just those 2, and to have just 2 discs and shoot 5 down, I was pretty happy. So I have no frame of reference. I was trying to check the layout to see how that stacked up. It seemed like it was only being used for like club events, and so I was seeing a lot of like dual scores and things. Either way, I felt good about it. It was super cool to play the first course that I ever played again, 10 plus years down the line. So I haven't like done any events. I haven't had any like crazy impactful, like, yeah, the Guelph Royale was so cool for me, or like, wow, I played the AFTO. But I feel like I've had a couple of really low key, cool disc golf weeks. So
heck yeah,
it's been fun for me. Always happy to be seeing you boys. We heard from Sean. Robbie, how about you? What do you got going on? What have you had going on? Tell us all about it, brother.
Yeah, it doesn't always need to be tournaments to be having some disc golf fun. You know, sometimes it's nice to go back to your roots and just throwing discs on a course and having fun, not really caring about the score. Although at this point, I think for all of us, we're a little beyond not caring about the score. It's just ingrained in us now. If we're playing bad, it's gonna be a bad time. Luckily, we're all great, and at least all great at playing more golf. Because as Sean always likes to say, why show up and play less? So that's what I go to during the bad rounds. At least I always remind myself those wise words of wisdom from Obi-Wan whispering in my ear.
More thrills, more fun.
Exactly. I played in the Guelph Royale, which was a lot of fun. It's basically a home tournament from me, being a member of the Guelph Club, and that's when I do play leagues, that is where I play the most, is in Guelph. So very familiar with the 2 courses played. I played 2 solid rounds. First round was pretty decent. I think it was like 950 something rated. And then the second round was just brutal. And these were both rounds at Eastview Park in Guelph. Same layout as well. So I think I shot I can't even remember now. Exactly. I think it was like a -3 and a +4, something like that. But it was like 950 and then 880 rated, rounds. So roller coaster Robbie a bit, but then I bounced back at Vic Park. I shot, I think 1 off of the hot round in MA1. Nowhere close to the hot round in MPO, as we'll get to in a little bit during the tournament recap. But yeah, shot 1 off the hot round in the final round. Jumped up, I think it ended up being 17 spots by the end of it, to jump up into 7th place. From near the bottom into a top 10. I was definitely pretty happy with that. Didn't go the way overall that I wanted to on my home courses, but
solid recovery
overall. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's one of the better rounds that I've ever played at Vic. I actually, for those that have played Vic, my drive off of the first tee was the farthest I've ever thrown. It was up the hill and then down the other side into the valley. But it actually gotten a little left that I kind of had a tough upshot. Only got par there on hole 3, which is, in my opinion, maybe the hardest hole in Ontario to birdie, which I actually saw get birdied during practice by Brady. You birdied hole 3 as well?
I birdied hole 1 and hole 3.
Jeez,
I came out of the
Louise.
woods with a -2, and then
Ooh.
completely forgot that we were playing a golf course with OB everywhere, and blasted a disc right straight down the fairway into the OB.
Oh,
The guys are like, that's OB. I'm like, oh yeah, I do.
I do now.
Yeah, that one hole. I was going to say, there really isn't that much OB for it being a golf course, but that first hole that you play coming out of the woods does have a lot of OB, and for a lefty, not exactly an ideal OB kind of position.
Hole 1 and 3 in the woods, a little bit more lefty friendly if you want to try a birdie, and I was able to get both of them.
Yeah, were you playing from the short tees?
Nope.
Oh, you were playing from the wow. You got it from longs.
Yep.
Attaboy.
One hyzer flip, Neptune Marlin right down the fairway, and it faded just at the corner and hooked around it. It was money.
Don't sound so surprised, Robbie.
No,
wow, you got it from hole one. You really, Sean? You managed to hit that birdie? That's crazy. I don't believe that.
Hole 1, I 100% can believe. Hole 3 from longs is insanity.
Yep.
That is wild. It's like, I think it's like over 300 feet, like dead straight down an 8-foot wide tunnel, and then it goes in completely 90 degrees sideways down another tiny little tunnel for another 170 feet.
Have faith in your co-host.
My upshot went underneath that log. That's right by the basket. And it just dropped it in.
That is
pretty. I was as surprised as you are.
That's nutty. On that hole threw the best tee shot I have ever, and then still upshot came up to the corner, had to kind of lean out and hit something weird, hit another tree, fell down, still took a bogey on it after throwing like the best drive of my life. Ended up having a nice comeback around there. So that was great. And now I actually just had a weekend off, no tournaments, and coming up into another weekend off. I have back-to-back weekends off, no tournaments for the first time since the winter when there were no tournaments. And I think when I looked back on it, I think this past weekend was my first weekend with no tournament at all since mid-May, I think. What
is wrong? Are you okay?
Quite the streak I was on. It does feel nice to have some time off, and I think I actually, because I didn't play any rounds over the weekend, I don't think I've touched a disc since the Guelph Royale.
Wow.
Which has been kind of nice. I'm going to go out and play some rounds this week. I'm going to make it out and play some League on Wednesday with Galen out at Kelso, and have some fun with it while I'm still off, and then go into a wild stretch of tournaments for the rest of the year. That's been it for me, but I'm a little curious. Shawnee G, did you have a little fun playing arts and crafts recently? What we got going on behind you?
So our viewer from last week will remember that I had a bit of a mishap ordering some patches for the show. 25 enormous patches arrived, and I don't really know what to do with them. So I made a lovely collage as a background, just sort of stuck them all together. This isn't even all of them. I thought it'd be an appropriate backdrop for the show. It's probably not going to stick around for long, but I thought it'd be kind of fun for at least one episode. I got to be fun with the things.
We've got it might be a little hard to see in the smaller box of my video, but I've got one hiding right in behind me here too. It's right there, hidden between the slats, in jail where it should be for that ridiculous sizing.
I'll get you one, Galen, as well, so you can have one too for sure.
I look forward to it already. It's going to become
these are limited edition patches now.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game too, or like we'll hide them and see if the viewers can track them down. Maybe.
I like this. I like
First
this
player
idea a lot.
items ever.
Heck yeah.
What do you boys say we move along here into some tournament recaps? And we've been talking about it a bunch already. The Guelph Royale, which of course in Guelph, Ontario. This was the first annual Guelph Royale after it was known as the Diameter Open last year, which then moved to Haute Goat for this year and is now called the Innova Rip, or maybe just the Rip, I believe is what it's officially called now. on disc golf scene. But this year, the Guelph Royale was once again a PDGA B tier event, and it is the 10th stop on the 2024 OCC Provincial Qualifying Series this year. In FBO, Sandy Hendel started strong with a 2-stroke lead after the first round, but Alicia Hums laid down a scorching -4, 959 rated second round to take a 6-stroke lead into the final round, where she would eventually cruise to an eventual 9-stroke victory. This is now Alicia's 4th win of the season, and in 13 events so far this year, she has an average finish of 3rd. I think it was like 3.05 or something like that when I was doing the math on it. Great season for Alicia so far. And over in MPO, this tournament was a shootout, and it started right from the start with Jake Voskamp breaking the course record at Eastview Park with a -15, 1057 rated first round to take a 5-stroke lead into the second round. That 1057 round rating absolutely smashes Jake's previous career high of 1027, beating it by 30, which he shot at Foxwood earlier this season. But that course record, it didn't last very long, as later in the afternoon on that same day, during round 2, Cam Zanini shot an insane -16, 1073 rated round, which could have well been even better, as he had 1 bogey in this round as well. 13 birdies, 2 eagles, 2 pars, 1 bogey. An absolutely insane round to erase a 6-stroke deficit and take a 1-stroke lead over Jake into the final round at Vic Park Valley. And the 2 leaders had a slower third round, but Marty Hendel wanted to make sure that no one forgot about him, as he would shoot the hot round. A -10, 1032 rated round would jump ahead of Jake into second, but unfortunately just didn't have enough holes to catch Cam, who would go on to take a 2-stroke victory, his 2nd win of the year after winning P15 in April. A absolutely wild tournament over in MPO. Galen, let's go over to you first, my friend, on this one. What are some of your thoughts coming out of the Guelph Royale?
Not a ton to add, man. That was a heck of a recap, but love seeing some insane rounds to smash career highs, to put some really, really insane scores down for like Ontario disc golf, like 1057 and 1073. Those are some of the highest rated rounds I can recall seeing in Ontario, like since I've started playing. I'm sure that there have been ones that are up there and higher, because I've not done like this insane, made this insane effort to like recap every round the last like 3.5 years. Holy, those numbers pop off the page. So I'm very impressed. Always love seeing Alicia take it down. We're going to hear from her a little bit later. But she has played spectacularly this season, so seeing her add a little more consistency to that game, love to see that. So I'll keep it tight and just say, like, holy crap, wow, congratulations, Cam and Alicia, and some really, really scorching rounds that I'm very impressed with, especially at a course where I've got a frame of reference, and my score is not even in the same solar system as 16 down.
How'd you shoot there during Rated League?
I don't remember the scores after the ratings were very poor. It was like an 800 and like an 832. We were talking about it last week, and I was like,
not quite 1073.
Yeah, so the actual like raw score, I honestly don't remember. Maybe that's a little bit of a coping mechanism by my brain. Thank you very much. But I just, like, where I have played that course and gone not anywhere near that, and then thought about it and realized the actual gravitas of 15 and 16 down from alongside. Like, wow, that is impressive. Wild. So love seeing that. Sean, any thoughts to add? I would imagine you have more than me, because I'm just doing my best over here.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to the tournament directors, Kevin McIntosh, Bevy, Paulina, Sean Graydon. Absolutely beautifully run tournament. The players' party was a blast. Having the crokinole boards out there. I found out I'm actually a worse crokinole player than I am disc golfer. I think I played like believe. 8. No, it's truly an achievement that I find. I think I played like 8 to 10 games with different people, and I lost every single game. Didn't matter which player I was partnered with. We lost all of those too, and I lost all of my solo games. I am a truly awful crokinole player. So I will just have to stick to disc golf where I am slightly less awful.
Just to put in a little perspective on Sean's awfulness at crokinole, we were playing doubles, and when I was paired up with Sean, we were doing best 4 of 7 series. When I was paired with Sean, we lost 0-4. When we switched it around and I wasn't paired with Sean, but I was facing Sean, we won 4-0.
Yeah, I didn't win
and Sean went 0-8 during those 8 matches. So
remarkably terrible at crokinole. I'm not going on the crokinole pro tour anytime soon. But yeah, what amazing player party. It was so much fun. I want to highlight the MA40 division, which is what I was playing in. I came in tied for 10th at it was okay. But it was quite a battle at the top of the division. In the final round, Adam Shepherdley and Andrew Somerville were battling it out after Chris Hannabury. He dropped down to 3rd. It was Adam that finished with a 2-stroke win, but it was down to really sort of the last hole in the course, which was Eastview hole 3, which was playing as a par 4 for them, for us. Andrew had a small opportunity if he could have eagled 3, but unfortunately he came up a little bit short. He ended up in the rough on the left side at the top of the hill, which is, as if you've played the course, you know that's pretty rough in there. Somehow still managed to get the birdie, but Adam kept it clean, also got the birdie and took down the win. Over in FA1, Jane Logan continues to tour around playing, I think, almost every division that is offered that she is able to play. To this time, she's playing in FA1, and she took the division down by, I think it was 12 strokes. Jane continues to be one of the top women players in the province, and it's awesome to see her. We see which division she's going to win next. It's super cool. But yeah, great event overall. Had a blast.
Yeah, this obviously I'm a little biased. Like I said, being a Guelph club member, this is one of my favorite events of the year. But just always so well run. The trophies that they had for this year looked awesome. The stained glass look of it. All the photos with the winners and the tournament directors afterwards always looked great. And I just want to give out a quick shout out as well to my division, MA1, Corey Hunter, buddy of mine. He's a Guelph local, if nobody's seen it before, he has one of the most unique forehand forms that you'll ever see, where it's straight up a softball pitch. It's identical to a softball pitch, and you look at it, you're like, I don't understand how that works. But it does. It comes out clean and it comes out hard. He can bomb it. He is super accurate with it. He doesn't play a lot of tournaments, but plays league all the time at Eastview. So I'm sure he was motivated to try and defend, his home course. I think he had a big hand in building the course as well. Working with the parks department in Guelph, I believe. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure. But yeah, shout out to Corey. He took down a 5-stroke win. He had a 977 tournament average as a 951 rated player. So great event for him. He absolutely killed it. And yeah, his form is wild. I wish that there was amateur footage of tournaments so people could just understand just how wild it is, but he's a great player. So shout out to him. Well, Shawnee G, throwing it over to you now. Let's move on to some upcoming Ontario tournaments and some open registrations that people might be able to jump in on.
It is hard to believe, but we are now past the midpoint of the tournament season for the year. And I know, right? Most registrations have already happened, but there are still more to come. Peace Bridge at Highlands Nordic, a fantastic event. It's a two-day tournament. On the Sunday, September 8th, MA 1 to 3 plays, and all other divisions play on the Saturday, September 7th. As of the date of this recording on Tuesday, the registration is open, and there still are a bunch of places available. Definitely not one to miss. It's a great
event.
2-round event. Super fun event. And optional players pack, which I love and I hope to see more of. Keep those costs and keep the materials down. Really, really great to see. Last weekend of September, I don't know how you people are gonna make a decision as to which event to play. I'm going to be over at Maple Hill spotting at the MVP Open, so my decision is made for me. But for all of y'all, oh boy, there is the Riverside Rumble in Belleville. Registration is open. There's room left. There's the Wedge down in Windsor. There's the Muskoka Open at Bondi. There's the Leaf Drop Doubles at Abbey Gardens. There's the Unplugged at Dreammaker. And if that wasn't enough, Nico's Drive has an event in Stratford. This has got to be one of the busiest. I can't imagine there is another weekend that is more tournament packed in Ontario than the last weekend of September. But, good luck making your decision. Registration, I think, is open for, I think, all of those or most all of those. Check out Disc Golf Scene for sure.
Yeah, I don't think the Muskoka Open at Bondi is, because I think that's the one that I'm planning on signing up for. It's going to be a nice little warm up for provincials as one of the. As far as I know, I'm pretty sure. Now, I'm not sure if this is all divisions, but I think I heard that at least for my division, we get one round at all 3 courses for provincials, which I am so excited about because last year for Knock, when it was in Muskoka, we didn't get to play Limberlost, my division. We did 2 at Bondi, 1 at Muskoka Downs, and now having played Limberlost, I really want to get a round in there as well. So if I do get to play all 3, that'll be great. But that busy weekend at Bondi will be a nice tune-up, at least for that one course. And then, of course, probably play a practice round at the others while I'm up there.
Totally. Another tournament that is open, I think, for registration now is the Stones Throw Fall Open out in Enterprise, Ontario, in the east. That is October 12th.
Highly recommend.
So much fun.
Heard nothing but. I haven't had a chance to play yet. I've heard nothing but good things. It's. I think that's a solid pick for the fall. And what a great time to be in that part of the province playing disc golf with all the leaf changing, and it'd be amazing.
Yep.
Tickets are also, spectator tickets are now on sale for the Innova Rip out at Haute Goat. It is only $40 for a 3-day pass, and that includes a round of golf at the Goat. I mean, I think it's a fantastic deal. They are also offering, for additional purchase, you can get a clinic with Gannon Burr, Alden Harris, Gavin Babcock, and Isaac Robinson. That's happening.
Not bad.
They're perfectly adequate players. That's happening on the Wednesday before the event. On the Saturday, you can sign up for a 1-disc glowy round with Jeff Panis of Innova, the
awesome.
Innova Wombat himself. You get a glow wombat, which I think this is the first time it's been released. And then there's also going to be a crokinole tournament happening on the Saturday as well. And I might have to start practicing my crokinole because it's clearly not tournament mode ready, but I'm definitely going to be entering in that event. And just announced today, Tuesday, is that Paige Pierce has signed up for the event. 5-time world champion Paige Pierce is going to be playing the Innova Rip. How amazing will it be to show up and follow that card and watch her absolutely embarrass the course designer of Haute Goat, just shredding this event. Like, poor Daryl, he's going to feel real bad that they do so well on his lovely course.
And did you see that Paige was lucky enough to be the partner of disc golfer extraordinaire, Mr. Tobin Isett, who was down at Ledgestone, and she had that privilege of playing doubles with him at I forget the exact terminology, but there was like a pro-am event where you could
Throw with the pros.
throw with the pros.
Throw with the pros.
And I got a couple of clips of some good times that were had there. So
It would be pretty amazing if we can get something
5X
like that
world
going
champ
at the go.
and friend of Tobin, Paige
Yes.
Pierce.
Close personal friend of Tobin. Yes,
Close
absolutely.
I'll throw it out there if Daryl's listening. If somehow there's a throw at the pros event set up for Hope Goat with these pros coming, I will sign up
100%.
immediately.
I will flush so much money down that hypothetical toilet. So much.
I'm going to actually be helping with that event behind the scenes a little bit. I'm going to be helping organize some of the volunteers. So if anybody who is listening is interested in volunteering for the event, we'll be putting out a call for volunteers. We'll be needing everything from people helping with tournament check-in to spotters, to who knows what else. We'll figure it out, and we'll put you to good use on the course. We have a great opportunity to see some of these pros throw right up close and help make this event an amazing thing. And maybe it'll be springboard to more higher level pro tour events in the province. That would be amazing to see. And speaking of pros, we're going to throw it now to our first feature interview of the night, Mr. Chandler Fry himself, the Chanimal.
Our next guest is a disc golf lifer, having joined the PDGA in 2004 as a junior, officially turning pro in 2008 and playing 2 national tour events that year. I personally remember first seeing him at the 2018 Canadian Nationals, where he had an awesome battle against Nate Sexton, ultimately finishing in second, but hitting a sick ace on hole 13 at Hillcrest in the final round to get back within a stroke with 5 to play. It was an awesome battle to watch. Everyone go check that out on YouTube if you haven't seen it before. He clearly likes something in Canadian water, as well as back at the end of June, he pulled off an incredible come-from-behind win at the BC Open, his first A-tier win since the 2021 CCR Open. It's a pleasure to welcome to the Miss Mando podcast a man known for giving out the best hugs on tour, the Chanimal from Olympia, Washington, Chandler Fry. Chandler, thanks so much for joining the podcast.
What an intro. It's good being here, guys. Thanks so much.
No, of course, it is a pleasure to have you. We had to go full out for the Chanimal with the intros here on Miss Mando. And you know what? Let's start with that recent win that I mentioned in the intro at the BC Open. And I'm curious, especially about what your mindset was going into that final round. You were down by 7 strokes going into that final round, and when you're trailing by that much with only 18 holes to play, are you even thinking about the leader at that point? Have you kind of moved on to the second place battle? Take me through kind of your mindset going into that final round.
Yeah, the start of the round, I was definitely considering the fact that the podium finish isn't for sure. There's a lot of players that are still gunning for that second, third place. And so I was kind of thinking about second place, securing that, getting that money, getting that trophy and heading out. But once Scotty started showing some chinks in the armor, he started missing some putts. I started to think, maybe it's possible. And towards the back 9, I thought, yeah, it's definitely possible. And I just kept on getting the birdies. And if I couldn't get the birdies, it was for sure getting the pars. And I go into those last few holes, I smelled blood in the water, and I went for it. I got 17, and 18 was a bit of a struggle. I laid up to 100 feet short and kind of forced Scotty to go for the park job. He had a birdie putt to tie it. Ultimately, he missed it, and I got lucky there. But yeah, it's kind of that situation where I'm just trying to get that podium finish, but knowing that anything is possible and just doing what I can do to get strokes.
So through that final round, are you a scoreboard watcher? Are you keeping an eye on the leaderboard kind of through the whole round? Do you do it like every couple holes? How do you kind of? I know some people don't look at the scoreboard until the very end. How do you handle that aspect?
Yeah, so usually I prefer not to look at scores during the round, but nowadays with PDJ tournaments, we kind of have to because we're all keeping our own scores on our phones. Sure, so I definitely knew the position. Yeah, I definitely knew the position I was in. I was trying not to think about it too much because that's when the stress comes in. That's when the anxiety comes in for me. But yeah, like I said, those last few holes, I was like, if I just get a couple birdies here, I have a chance to win this. And ultimately, it worked out for me. But it's always kind of sad to see a great player like Scotty struggle like that, because I've had many battles with him and he's come out on top many times. And it just depends on the week, you know. Like he's taken me down. He's taken a lot of good players down over the years, and to get that win on him felt good. Felt really good.
I'm sure as two Pacific Northwest guys, that's not your first battle, and it won't be your last, I'm sure.
Yeah, we have a joke that whenever I play with them, I just hit big putts. Every single time I play with them, I'm hitting from all over the place.
It's the Chanimal way.
Yeah, I'm sure if he's thinking about it, he's ready for it. But he had a 7-stroke lead, and he built up that lead in the first 2 rounds. I'm sure in his head he was like, just cruise on out, get the win, I'm good to go. But sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I mean, he's a good player and a good man, so I'm sure he's fine with it. But it's always good to get the dub over an old competitor like Scotty.
So you're a Pacific Northwest guy. You've played the BC Open. Is it once before?
I think this was my first time. Honestly, I can't remember. It might have been an advanced. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
According to Stat Mando, you played it in 2018.
Oh wow. Okay, so that
according to Stat Mando.
How was that guy now?
I must have played so bad I blacked it out.
You actually finished in third, apparently.
What? Okay, well I gotta. Who won that one? Didn't Sexton win or something?
I will pull it up right now. I just got it off. It was Nick Wood in first, Jesse Bickley, and you finished tied for third with Andrew Nava.
Yep, I do remember that now. That was my first time playing Raptors Knoll and what I called the horsey coursey.
The horsey coursey.
Yeah, it was the second of the 2 courses we played. First time playing those courses, but I forget where it was. Like Ravens. I forget what the course was, but I was at an old golf course, like ball golf course, and I did kind of black that one out. I can't remember it because I was battling the entire time when I didn't get the dub there. So
go
ahead.
I mean, being a Northwest disc golfer, does Raptors Knoll kind of feel like kind of a course that you're used to? How did you like playing it?
It was fun.
The second time, even if you didn't remember the first one so much.
Well, we didn't play it the first time. It was at a completely different location. This was my first time playing Raptors Knoll. It was fun. I've heard a lot about it. I'd heard a lot about it. And I just knew that it was a fun track, kind of a park style with some kind of tight little holes in the back section there. But it was amazing, the work put into that course. Like there's this one hole, I believe it's hole 8. I think, but overhead view, the green is actually this bird of prey, a raptor. There's wings. The OB section is the wings. There's rocks for the tails and the head. So it's pretty incredible the work they put into it, just being a public course. And I'd also looked at previous courses there, like just looking at what Thomas Gilbert has done, what Scott Withers has done, and I was seeing some pretty decent scores, so like double digits. So going into it, I was definitely expecting those double-digit rounds to come out. I didn't do that the first round. I think Scotty shot 14 down the first round, so it's kind of sad to see that trailing by like 6 after the first round or wherever I shot. But it was a really fun course, and I definitely look forward to going back. I think I can win there. Well, obviously I can, but I think I can win there again.
Absolutely, and we'd love to have you back up in Canada again sometime soon.
Do you think it's going to be a regular stop on your tour?
Yeah, I'm thinking so. I think I'm going to slowly transition to being more of a regional player in the next few years. The touring life is tough. It's tough. It's tough being away from family. It's tough being away from my dog. I'm in Kentucky right now. I'm a big guy, so the second I step outdoors, I'm wet. It's gross.
Yep.
When I'm in BC, it's perfect. I can go out there in 80-degree weather and not sweat, and it's fantastic. So I'm definitely thinking about being more of a West Coast killer in the next few years. Definitely hitting up some of the bigger stops, like obviously the majors and worlds and all that. But BC Open will be a stop in the future for sure.
Next year, there seems to be maybe a little bit more focus on the West Coast with Champions Cup being out there. So that might be a good start to that transition.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Disc Golf Pro Tour has has forgotten about the West Coast a lot this year in the last couple of years. So it's good to see them giving a little nod with a major over here finally.
Well, you're still on tour right now, and you just finished at Ledgestone, where you got a sick ace last year. Unfortunately, this year you didn't make the final round cut. What are the aspects of your game that you're focused on right now, so you can, start to put the young guns in their place a little bit here in the tour?
Yeah, I don't think I don't think it's possible to put Gannon Burr in his place right now.
He's a different beast.
Yeah, he's whipping us up and down the course right now.
These kids are so disrespectful of their elders.
So disrespectful and so darn good. It's amazing that, like, I was talking to a friend today, and I was thinking, man, it's easy to be jealous of Gannon with his game style, with his skill, with his approach. But honestly, I'm just happy to be in the game when he is, because I think we're looking at the future GOAT. Like, I think he's the favorite for the World Championship this year. He's pretty much favorite for every single tournament up till, like, I don't know, 10 years from now. So I'm just thankful to be able to witness greatness. I'm thankful to be able to be a part of these tournaments and even potentially show my greatness at some of these. Ledgestone was weird because after BC Open, I did a planned root canal and then instantly followed that with a week and a half bout of COVID, which it was my first time getting it, and I was not ready for it. It laid me out for a few days. And after COVID, I had a few days.
That's brutal.
I know. After COVID, I had a few days of pure bliss, and then I was eating some chicken, and a crown fell out, and on the other side of my mouth. And I went into the dentist, and I was like, "Hey, can you re-cement this for like 3-4 more months, just so I can make it through the rest of the tour?" And they said, "No, we got to take the tooth out," and so we had an on-plan tooth extraction. And I apparently have really deep roots, and so my face was swollen. I had to pull out of a hometown A-tier at my 3 local courses, and it was devastating. So going into Ledgestone, I definitely wasn't expecting much. I didn't really have time to acclimate to the weather. Going from the PNW to Peoria, Illinois is quite the shock.
Bit of a shock to the body.
Especially when you're still taking antibiotics.
Oh, man.
So my practice rounds didn't go great. Yeah, I wasn't expecting much. I was looking to build back to where I was because I had a lot of momentum going. So from BC Open and High Country Challenge and Beaver State Fling, I was playing 1045, 1050 average golf, and I felt great, but I felt like I kind of lost some of that momentum. So I'm still kind of building back and trying to acclimate to where I was. But one cool thing about Ledgestone, I didn't lose any discs. You wouldn't think looking at my score, but I lost 0 discs in any practice rounds, and all 3 of my tournament rounds I didn't make the cut, so it wasn't 4. But that's something I'm thinking about because, I mean, that's pretty good. All my discs that went in the water, I was able to retrieve, and all the discs that went out of bounds were close. So I'm close to getting back to where I was, but definitely not there yet.
We'll take the little wins when we can get them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You mentioned Beaver State, where I think you finished 12th this year. Great finish. What was working for you? Obviously, you didn't have COVID and unscheduled dental surgery at that point. So what are you looking to build upon from that round to really sort of bring it forward?
Yeah, I think a lot of that was just my last round at Beaver State. Few times in my career I've been able to tap into what I think is called the flow state, where you're just one with your discs. You know exactly what they're going to do. And in that third round, I was just a putting machine. I think I hit 3 80-plus footers, a couple death putts. There's some videos that I have of like me making the putt, and then people like behind me. I'm not watching them, but people behind me just like, what is happening? So it was super fun. I was able to just tap into that. I shot the hot round 10 down. I beat Gannon Burr that round. He still won the tournament. But I think I moved up 30 plus spots. So I was definitely feeling good there. The putting has always been my strength, but it was like elite. It was absolute elite level that day. And going in the High Country Challenge, it was still continuing. I had a 3-stroke lead going to the last round. Parker Welk shot 7 down the first 6 holes of the last round and just absolutely punched me in the face with his playing. And I wasn't able to recover there, but I lost by 1 there. And then BC Open, I definitely was looking to win. But I think my putting is still feeling really strong. and I'm just kind of working on getting that feel from the T-pad back. I lost a few discs at. Actually, it wasn't at. I did lie to you. I lost a couple discs at Bradley Park in West Peoria, Illinois, but it wasn't one of the Ledgestone courses. So a couple of my go-tos, I have to find those again with some new discs, but I'm going to definitely rely on the putting and just staying in bounds.
Always a solid plan.
Yeah.
We asked a couple junior players that we know, Alejandro and Ricky, who are fans, and they wanted asked them if they if they had any questions for you, and they wanted to know. We mentioned that you started way back in 2004 as a junior. I think you won your very first tournament that you played, which is awesome.
Novice.
Yeah. How, obviously that was before disc golf, YouTube and everything was a thing, and it was easy to sort of find to get into the sport. So who or what got you into the sport, and how did you know that you wanted to make this your career?
Yeah. So my dad and I and my brother have always been incredibly competitive people, and we always looked for things to compete with each other with. And my dad and I were outside one day, and we saw some guys throwing Ultra Stars, disc-wrapped Ultra Stars at trash cans going down the street. And my dad was just like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? What's this?" And they said we're playing object golf. And so we looked it up, and we found out what Frisbee golf is. And we found what we thought was the closest course to us, which was Milo MacGyver, the site of Beaver State Fling. And we went out there, purchased some Ultra Stars, and played our first round of disc golf with Ultra Stars at Milo, which, if you know, there's like 1,000-foot holes. So it was quite it was quite the undertaking. But we all kind of showed a knack for just naturally throwing Frisbees. My brother was already an ultimate player. And so we kind of started getting that. And then during the round, some guys are like, "Hey, there's actual disc golf discs." And so we found a local pro shop, got some discs. And my first disc was a Discraft Wildcat, which I still love. I don't think they make them anymore, but fantastic disc if you can find it. And so we went back out and played a second round on the first day. And it was a lot harder, actually, because the discs fly so differently from the Ultra Stars. So that was kind of a setback, but we kept on playing. It became kind of an obsession for my dad and I, and we just played more and more. My brother kind of trailed off. He still plays a little bit, but not as much, obviously, as myself. But yeah, after I went to college. So when I turned pro when I was 18, my first, I think I've been 1,000 rated since I was 18. And so I was like, "Hey, I think it's time to go pro." And I just played locally. I went to college at Western Washington University. And I kind of tried to balance being a student and traveling to like Idaho, Oregon, Northern California, even Southern California sometimes. It was difficult, but I did it. And then out of college, I got a job, and it wasn't until the Disc Golf Pro Tour kind of reared its head that I realized, like, oh, this is actually a career that I can pursue. And so I tried it out. I did a couple like 3-month stints. I traveled with Tim Barham from Michigan, Brian Earhart from Illinois, and it kind of worked out. I got some good feels for it, and once I got picked up by Discraft, that's when I was like, okay, it's time to go. I got support from a major manufacturer. I got a chance to move up to elite team if that's a possibility in the future. And there's just a lot of possibilities in disc golf, and everything's growing so fast. I think this is the time. So I fully committed, and I've been doing it since. We have seen a bit of a lull in disc golf in the past year, maybe, just as far as disc sales, and COVID definitely helped boost all that up. So it's becoming harder and harder to really afford being on the road, and definitely not being on the elite team isn't helping. But it's still my biggest passion in life. It's still what I want to do, and if I can make it work, even if it's somewhat hard sometimes, I'm gonna do it because I love it. It's my life. A lot of my good friends have come from this sport. It's how my dad and I really bond, and I can't see myself doing anything else at this point.
Love it. I'd say it's probably hard to not fall in love with disc golf when your first experience is Milo.
Yeah,
Being with
sure.
Ultra Stars or not, when you're out at Milo, I think that's a pretty magical first disc golf experience. Not one that I've had yet, unfortunately, being from Toronto, like we mentioned, but on the disc golf bucket list for me.
Someday. It was my 16th Beaver State Fling this year, and I consider that a badge of honor because
absolutely
it's a mecca of disc golf in Portland, and being able to say that I played one of the best tournaments in the world 16 times is just it's pretty awesome.
That's pretty rad. Cool.
Yeah.
The other question that our young friends had was that wanted to know if you had advice for younger players, up and coming players who are thinking maybe this is a thing that I want to do too, progress to the point of going on tour and being a pro as a career.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts as to how to best sort of go about doing that?
Yeah, I'd say one thing is Dave Felberg, who taught me a lot of what I know in disc golf. He told me that a lot of the skill-based improvement happens off the course. It happens in field practice, and I definitely don't do that as much. I only do that nowadays if I'm trying to learn a new disc. But I'd say when you're young, get off the course and go to the field and just learn how to throw a disc, learn how the discs fly. Just try different things, try spike anhysers, all the different shots. Another thing is I would say play as many tournaments as you can and don't worry about being called a sandbagger. Learning how to win is a skill that I wish I had tried a little bit harder when I was younger. It builds mental resiliency. It makes you a better player overall if you have that confidence going into rounds. And then once you decide to go up, like play up, because the more you play with better players, the better you're going to be. And be open to really any criticism that you get. Don't be a hard head. Don't just close yourself off and say, I got this, I know what I'm doing. Tell yourself, you can know what you're doing, but tell yourself that you're always available to learn. Even if you feel like you're the best in the world, you can still learn something. Also, when I was growing up, I didn't have YouTube. I had a VHS tape from Scott Stokely on how to play disc golf, and it's kind of cool to see Scott Stokely still out here at 52 years old slinging discs.
He's got another ace as well.
Yeah. If you look at a lot of younger players like Cole Verdalen, Gannon Burr, these guys are students of the game. They know the game inside and out. They know every single course. They know every single player. They know every single throw. So just immerse yourself in the world of disc golf and understand the history of it, understand pretty much every aspect of it, and you're going to be a better player just for having that information. Also, Thomas Gilbert. That guy's a disc golf encyclopedia. I see you're wearing his shirt. He knows disc golf, and that definitely helps him in his disc golf journey. So really immerse yourself in the world of disc golf, get to know everything about it, and just try to have fun with it. That's another thing. I see a lot of young players get upset with themselves over poor performances or bad putts. Just accept those. I've had a lot of failure in my life. Failure is just part of success. You got to fail sometimes to get to the top, except for Gannon, who's never failed in his life. But
again, no, so disrespectful.
I know. I'm sure he's had a few failures, but just stay up. Smile. Understand that you're playing disc golf. Just appreciate where you are and just have a fun time with it. I know it sounds kind of corny, but now that I'm 34 years old and I'm playing pro. It's really easy to get down on yourself, and I'm still reminding myself to keep your chin up. It's okay. Look where you're at.
Heck yeah. I love all that advice. Some of that I'm going to take into my own game for sure. I don't see myself ended up on the pro tour like some young up and comers from around here. I think I'm a little past my prime, but I'll still in the MA1 scene. We can still take some of that info. But as I mentioned in your intro, I first remember seeing you on coverage from 2018 Canadian Nationals, and as someone who personally fell in love with PEI when I got to travel there for Nationals in 2019. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts and memories of the island are like. You got to go back recently last year for the Discmania Open. Did you indulge in any more hand pies while you were out there?
So many hand pies.
Oh, yeah.
The PEI hand pie company is elite.
The
That
best.
is, oh my gosh. They have the birthday cake hand pie.
Mm-hmm.
That was my favorite sweet hand pie. And then I think, they had like the beef stew hand pie.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
my
They have
gosh.
so many. I'm a big fan of the seafood. Whatever their seafood
Oh,
one
my
was when I
gosh.
was there, it was like crab meat and stuff. Oh, so good.
Unbelievable. PEI is an incredible place. It's just a beautiful location. It's amazing that there's a few disc golf courses there, and we have the ability to go there. Hillcrest Farms is still like top 5 for me.
Yep.
It's a John Houck design, and he produces amazing courses. And just having fairways where you can choose 3 different routes to go to the basket. I think it's just a cool idea instead of having just one set route. I still that was the Sunday of that tournament was Father's Day, and my biggest memory of that tournament is calling my dad after that last round and crying and apologizing for not winning. But I know it's a little sad. It just shows how much it means to me. But also, I should be the ace, but the ace was pretty cool. On hole 13, I remember I was talking to. Is it Brian Haniger, the PGA International Director who lives on Toronto Island, I believe?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
I remember walking up to the tee pad and just being like, man, I got to get something going. Nate's putting the hurting on me. I got to get going. And I just threw that in, and I knew it was in the second I threw it. But then the next hole, Nate threw the best drive that hole's ever seen on hole 14. So it was a tough round, and I definitely wish I could have come out on top. But I was traveling with Sexton that year, and just being able to go 1-2 at that tournament and beating players. I think Simon Lizotte was there, and a bunch of other solid touring pros. Felt really good, and I think that was one of my first tournaments where I was like, yeah, I do belong out here on the road. I can compete. I'm sure Nate's kicking my butt, but I'm beating a lot of other guys.
You can hang.
Absolutely. And then Huckett Disc Golf Course, I think it since has been torn down by a tornado. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there.
The hurricane that rolled through there kind of
hurricane.
damaged all the courses in the area. Unfortunately, Hillcrest lost like half of its trees.
Oh, man.
Same with Huckett. But I know Hillcrest is reopened now. I think they had John come out and help with the redesign and retooling of the course. I'm not sure about Huckett, but I'm sure that I don't know if that's even reopened yet.
Huckett wasn't too bad. I played it last year at the Discmania Open, and there were some pretty big trees down. You could tell it had changed a little bit, but it was being on the far west end. It was less impacted than some of the more central courses like Hillcrest or Kings Pine, which got absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, unfortunately, that hurricane rolled through like a week after I was there for Nationals in 2019. So I'm at least thankful that I got to go out there and experience Hillcrest in the, when it was ranked number 3 in the world in the UDisc World Rankings. Got to experience it. I'm sure when I go back out there, it's still going to be that same magical feeling.
There might be a few less trees, but it might make for some easier shots out there.
Exactly. And there's always the promise of hand pies after the round, which will alleviate any bad feelings. So
I think going back to whenever I go to Canada, I hang out with Thomas Gilbert. And I think he was averaging like 5 hand pies a day. So that guy was he was investing in the hand pie company.
Oh yeah, one of probably my favorite memory from the 2019 Nationals. I was following the lead card for MPO, and Ella, who won FPO earlier, we were on like hole 10 or something like that, and someone's trying to bump by me, and it was Ella with the most stuffed bag of hand pies I've ever seen in my life. Like you could not fit another hand pie in there. And I just gave a little congrats champ and a real meal of champions after a round of big old bag of hand pies.
Yeah, I think she was trying to get sponsored by them at one point. I'm not sure if that worked out.
That's an elite sponsorship.
That Instagram video of her with the pound,
the fanny pack.
The fanny pack. That was the hand pie holder. Perfection.
Yeah, she's a big fan of the hand pie. But I'll always have a special place in my heart for PEI, just because not only the food and the courses, but the community. Benjamin Smith, the TD of those courses, I know he's not from PEI, but the amount of work that he and his staff put into those places, and just the owners of the courses, is unbelievable. And if you have the chance, anyone who's listening, to go out there, spend your money to go out there, because it is so worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
You might see some red foxes too, which is pretty cool, because they're everywhere.
So this year you changed sponsors, so you're now on Team ThoughtSpace and Infinite, among others. How's that been working out for you? How are you finding a disc sponsor and a store sponsor sort of complementing each other? And what are you thinking your top 3 discs in your bag this year are? What?
Yeah, so I'm lucky to have a friend group that had already been sponsored by these companies for a couple of years with Infinite Discs and ThoughtSpace Athletics. Eric Oakley, James Proctor, Erica Stinchcomb, and Ali Smith really helped ease the growing pains with the new bag. And so like Eric Oakley pretty much was like, hey, you got to throw this, and this. And I was like, okay. And that's what I've been throwing. It's been really easy. I like to think it's the archer, not the it's the archer, not the arrows. So I know how to throw discs. I've been throwing discs since I was 12 years old. So Infinite and ThoughtSpace have everything I could possibly need. And I came from Discraft, and fantastic company, fantastic product. But I find no gaps in my bag right now. I have everything I need. And if I still wanted to put some Discraft in my bag, I could, because I am technically open bag. But so far, I haven't found the need to. I'd say my top 3 discs right now, my favorite disc is definitely the Infinite Discs Halo S Blend Emperor. It's a bit beefy, bit overstable, but its consistency is what I crave. I love it. I know exactly what it's going to do for 4 hands for pretty much any shot. I can flex it, spike hyzer it. I can do anything. And then the ThoughtSpace mantra is I love a good hyzer flip disc. I actually recently lost my mantra at my home course in Olympia, Washington. So if anyone from Olympia is watching this Evergreen Hole 5. Look on the right side for a purple mantra, because I love that disc and I think it's in a Refern or something. But yeah, it's just consistency. It's a good hyzer flip disc. If you want to roll it, you can. If you want to spike hyzer flip it to like a right finish, it's so fun to throw. And it's always fun to hear my competitors be like, whoa, or gasp when they think I just completely yanked a disc on a hyzer and it just comes out perfectly flat. And then I'll shout out my new Tour Series disc. I got my Myth Infinite Discs.
Awesome.
P-Blend.
Nice.
Myth. Yeah, it's got a little Bigfoot Chanimal guy in there walking through the woods.
That's an awesome stamp.
Tell us about it.
It's nice and grippy. It's pretty stiff, but in this humidity, I'm finding that it's pretty consistent with the grip. It's overstable. It's deep. It's big beaded. It's kind of similar to the Charlie OS, just not as overstable. That's where I puttered with Discraft. It feels really nice. Available on infinitediscs.com. I think it's already on sale, which I'm not sure is a good thing, but it's $1 off right now. So check them out.
There we go.
A lot of the money that you pay for this one comes to me, and it definitely helps out on the road. And if I can have a 4th disc, ThoughtSpace Athletics just released their Nerve Pro Temple, which is pretty fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I've been throwing the Nerve Temple, which was a bit too floppy for me, especially in the heat. Once it's in the sun, it gets a little floppy. Yeah. But the Nerve Pro, it holds its integrity with the plastic. It's nice and stiff, and it is beefy. There we go. You got one. It is beefy. It's perfect. Good for the sidearm approach, backhand approach. It just feels good out here in the humidity. I haven't really thrown it much in the cold, but I'm sure it'll hold up there too. I currently throw a Hyzer Bomb mortar for that approach disc slot in my bag, but I think the Temple, once I get a couple more, I only have one right now to test out, but once I get a couple more, so I can replace that slot. Check it out. I think the only ones available are the Proctor Swedish Open champion ones on ThoughtSpaceAthletics.com, but they're money.
I watched your in the bag, and I saw you mention this Hyzer Bomb mortar. I have never heard of this before. What the hell is this disc?
It's just, it's kind of exactly what the name sounds like. It's just, it goes up and then it goes down. There's not much to it. It's just a very overstable approach disc. And I was looking to, going from one sponsor to another, I kind of like to just kind of wash myself of the old sponsor and completely immerse myself in new discs. And I was looking for an overstable approach disc, and I couldn't really find it because the Nerve Temple wasn't the plastic I wanted at that point. It is now. But I found my buddy had a bunch of Heiserbaum glow mortars in his collection. I was like, hey, can I try this out? And it just kind of worked out for what I wanted it to be. But yeah, I think it's leaving the bag pretty soon, and it's gonna be replaced by the Temple. But that in the bag was funny because that was like 2 months and I knew plastic and I didn't know what I was talking about. I had no idea. I think at certain points in the bag, I was yelling at Eric on the porch, "What does this do?" So, yeah.
Well, Simon proved with his first MVP in the bag video that you don't need to know really anything about the plastic types or anything like that to make a good in the bag video. So you're just following the trend.
He set the standard. I followed that for sure.
We played a tournament here recently where we got as in part of our players pack the new Temple Glow Pro.
Oh, nice!
And it's nice and beefy, and it's a pretty sick disc. Yeah,
it's fantastic. I think the Nerve Pro just came out, so if you're
were
looking
the first
for
to get
that
it.
same disc in a slightly stiffer plastic, that's the way to go.
Heck yeah. Speaking of Thought Space Athletics, you have one of, if not my number one favorite jersey on their website, with a little shout out to Erica Stinchcombe as well, who has the 1-2 that I would argue are my two favorites.
Nice.
And of course, yes, our boy Thomas Gilbert. We gotta mention him here on the pod. So with yours, what kind of went into the design process with that? Did you have a big hand in that design making process?
Yeah. So we're lucky to have that. So the owner of ThoughtSpace, Aaron, is just a graphic design extraordinaire, and he is just aesthetically on point with his ideas. And so we definitely I said I wanted a nature scene with a mountain being for the Pacific Northwest. I want trees. I want a river. And he was like, okay, let's do it. And I wanted to get birds involved somehow because since I turned 30, I guess you have to be a birder, and I've gotten into birding quite a bit recently. And he asked me what my favorite bird was, and having just gone to Uganda, I was looking for a shoebill, which is this crazy prehistoric looking bird, stork, with this gigantic bill. Hence the shoebill name. And so he sent me pretty much the shirt I have now, but with a giant stork on it, just like looking at the mountain. And I was like, that's not going to work. And so then he had the idea to put kind of a watermark birds on the black part of the jersey, and it just looked fantastic. But a lot of the ideas came from him, and I was just like, that looks good. That looks good. That looks great.
He made it easy for you then.
Absolutely. I think other players have had a little more input. I'm pretty easy, but I think it came out looking incredible. And I wish I only have one right now. I wish I could wear one every day. But they're doing opposite color, or a lot of the players are getting what's it called, the alternate swap or something like that. So James had the black, and I'm hoping they do something similar for that and do like a lightning blue or something. That would look really cool.
Kind of following up on that question, I've seen all year ThoughtSpace players rocking each other's jerseys, supporting each other out on the course. If you had to choose, and maybe you could give like a top three if you really can't limit it down, who's your favorite jersey to rock when you're out on the course? Maybe there's one that just gives you like an extra, confidence. It gives you an extra aura while you're out there. It gives you like a level up or something,
Erica Stinchcombe was one of my favorite people, and it's also kind of a northwest looking vibe with the mountain and the streams and the hills. I love wearing that one. It also goes with a new pair of shoes I just got. It's like minty white, minty green. It looks really nice. Ali Smith's jersey is kind of a geometric pattern. She was a math teacher, and she wanted to kind of involve some geometric ideas.
I love that purple.
It's so cool looking. Yeah, and then Matt Bell's is pretty interesting, but I've worn it a couple times, and each time I've worn it, I've played really well. So it's long sleeve though, and out here I'm not looking to wear long sleeves. So and Eric and James's are also kind of cool, but I wear theirs all the time just because I'm always hanging out with them, and I don't know. But it's kind of cool to go out there and just see all those players wearing my jersey as well. That's the first time that's happened. It shows that they like the jersey, and also I feel like they're all playing pretty well in it. So
heck yeah. I say it's your jersey that is the aura boost for other players. That's what it is.
Plus 100 aura boost right there.
There we go.
One more disc question.
Okay.
you mentioned that changing sponsors. You want to go with an all new bag, no more Discraft. You are, of course, world renowned as the world's greatest comet thrower, and it's. I must have been tough giving that disc up. So what disc is now has replaced it that you are now the undisputed world's greatest thrower of?
I will preface all of this with saying that when Fish and I were doing the world's best comet thrower thing, we were saying the world's best comet thrower today, because it was a given that Michael Johansson at any time is the greatest comet thrower.
Of course, his name is on the disc.
Yeah, we can't take that away from him. I'm sure one throw we might be able to beat him, but the guy is just a genius when it comes to
Unlike Gannon-Burr, you respect your elders.
Ledgestone MP40 champion this weekend.
Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, he was?
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, he beat Schwebby?
Yeah, I came back. Marty Hendel, local here to us in Ontario. I believe he had a one-shot lead going into the final round, and then Michael, he laid down like a 11 under or 10 down, something like that. Yeah, he went off. Yeah.
I guess Schwebby played MP50 probably. I'm not entirely sure on that. I know.
I didn't see his name. Yeah. I didn't see his name on that list.
Okay, I think he played MP50 and just shredded them for his 414th win or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say, I'm really enjoying throwing the Praxis right now, the Thought Space Praxis. I'm not going to say I'm the best Praxis thrower, because I've seen pretty much all my competitors or all my fellow teammates throw better shots than me with it. But I think I'm top 5 in Emperor, Dynasty, and Praxis right now. I'm not going to call myself the best at any of those just because I'm not there yet. I might get to that point, but I replaced the Comet, actually, painstakingly so, with the Glow Mana from Thought Space.
Yes.
It has a similar flip point. Put that thing on hyzer, it'll pop up. Depending on how much speed you put on it, you can put it way right. So I do find myself missing, especially on hole 7 at Ledgestone this last week, that green Big Z Comet, which I lost to MVP last year. But yeah, it's every manufacturer nowadays has a disc that does what you want it to do. You just gotta find it.
I fully agree with you. What you said earlier, it's the archer, not the arrow.
Yeah.
It's you put a disc in a pro's hand and they're going to be able to throw it pretty well once they figure it out. You mentioned just a little bit ago about going to Uganda, and you work closely with the folks at Uplay. Got to go over there with them. How did that come about, and how was that experience over there?
Yeah, so 2 years ago I went to Uganda with the Paul Macbeth Foundation as part of a team to install. Well, Uplay was this last year, to install a course at Ndija University in Kampala as a sporting university with a bunch of athlete students, and then also a fishing village called Katosi on the banks of Lake Victoria. And I was not ready for that first trip. It was a pretty mind-opening experience, just seeing the conditions they live in, just seeing what they have to deal with on a daily basis, just to do what comes easy to us every day in some of the Western cultures. But yeah, it was a pretty amazing experience, just being able to see the passion and just being able to see how much they wanted disc golf in their community, and see, like, once we got it going, how much it impacted them and how much joy it brought. Not just the kids, there's a lot of kids that loved it, but just the older members of the community, the people my age. It was unbelievable, and it's hard to put into words the impact it had on me. But it was something that's going to stick with me for the rest of my life, and I can't wait to go back. This last year I went to Uplay, went to Uganda and Kenya with Uplay. And that was for 3 weeks, so a week longer than the first trip. And that was to kind of go back to these places that we went initially with Paul Macbeth Foundation, because Uplay is a sustainability partner with Paul Macbeth Foundation, and just kind of see how they're doing and see what we can do to help, and do some more teaching, get some more just advanced teaching in the ranks, and just to see how the teachers that we taught the first time are doing with the younger people coming in. And we ran our first tournament in Uganda. It was chaotic. There's a lot of things that a lot of ideas that we have that happen at tournaments that just don't really come easy to them as far as like the structure of all of it, and just like you have to show up at this time and we have to get going and we have to keep score this way. So there's a lot of teaching there, and it was some hard moments for sure, but we as a team definitely pushed through, and overall it was a complete success. And to that point, they actually just ran a Uganda Juniors Championship at the course. We installed it in Deja University, and they had 148 kids show up.
Wow.
So, yeah, and a lot of the kids that we had initially taught ended up winning their divisions, and they just had a blast.
Heck,
and
yeah.
Israel, my boy Israel, who's the main guy over there, just did such an incredible job. Then we went to Kenya to Rimpa Estates, and there's a gentleman named Kevin Becker who he and his wife own this incredible wildlife conservancy. And the first thing we saw, we pull up, and behind hole one's basket, there's just ostriches walking by. It's unbelievable.
Sure.
And so
totally normal. So we have all seen that on our local disc golf course. Ostriches.
Yeah. You're just putting out, and then a giraffe runs by. No big deal.
You just get in the way. They're so common.
Yeah, you see the silhouettes of zebra in the distance. Normal stuff.
Basically like a squirrel, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, kind of. You see him pretty much all the time there. But yeah, he's doing incredible things. He definitely wanted to get his local community more involved, so he ran some clinics, ran a tournament, and not to toot my own horn, but that was the tournament I shot a 19 down. And I'm not going to say it's like the hardest course ever, but I will say that I was dealing with traveler's diarrhea and a bad back.
Oh boy.
It was my Michael Jordan blue game.
Heck yeah. First international win.
Yeah. Actually, was it? Yeah, I guess it was.
This is the Chandler Fry medical ailment edition of this.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I was kind of laid
that is rough.
For a couple of days. It all stemmed from I digress here, but it all stemmed from going to the airport on our way to Kenya, and we got stuck behind the presidential motorcade. And it was like 35 cars, tanks, just armored vehicles.
Oh, my goodness.
And so our driver, he was doing a great job, but he decided to go on all the side roads trying to get through everything. And it was just bumpy because the roads aren't great over there. And I was jammed into this seat, and I got out of the airport and I could barely walk. So man, it wasn't good for the back, and it continued for a few days. I had to stay calm for a few days and not do anything, which kind of sucked when I was in a really cool place like Kenya. But
but then you shot minus 19.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
I have to assume is still the course record.
I'm guessing so. That's gonna be hard. That's gonna be hard to beat. But actually, I played a couple days before that. I tried to go out there and I tried to I threw 3 shots. I got 2 birdies and 1 ace. So
solid start.
Yeah, so I was just like, okay, I can.
Fine. It's fine.
But then my back started hurting again, and I had to take the day off. So, but yeah, the experience is something that it's hard to verbalize for me, but it was just so eye-opening to see their culture, see how beautiful they are in so many ways, and to see that passion and joy for a sport that I love really kind of reinvigorated my passion in the sport and made me want to come out and do more as far as like growing the sport, get involved with Uplay. Zoe and Dyke and Dustin Keegan are doing crazy cool things. I'm definitely looking to do more with Paul Macbeth Foundation in the future, just going out there, spreading the best sport that I know, and getting more discs in more kids' hands.
Love that. So I've mentioned, we've mentioned a few times that you are a true disc golf lifer, being involved in it for so long, going on tour in 2018. You've been a touring pro now for all that time. We touched on how you kind of see things changing up a little bit, but with the sport as a whole, you've seen it change so much in your time playing disc golf now. How do you see it continuing to change over, let's say, the next 5 years? What do you see some big changes in the realm of disc golf coming?
I see 5 world championships for Gann and Burr straight. I think with the recent young wave of professional disc golfers, I think the future of the sport is bright. I think we're going to see nothing but growth as far as the professional side is concerned. One thing that we need to work on as a whole is just to get bigger sponsors in the sport and just legitimizing what we're doing. Because a lot of people still look at disc golf as kind of a fringe, kind of a goofy, like, what are they doing? They're going out to the park to drink beers and play with their friends. But like, it's a lot more to a lot of us. It's a passion. And so just kind of verbalizing that to the rest of the world to be like, hey, this is a real thing. I think possibly getting some Frisbee sports into the Olympics or just into just the minds of some of the Olympic people, just to be like, oh yeah, ultimate Frisbee could work, because that's one of the most athletic sports I know. And every single time I watch a game, like, you see crazy jumps, crazy dives, crazy spikes. Those athletes are freaks, and they belong in the Olympics. And so once we get ultimate in there, we might be able to see some more disc sports going. I think we're doing a good job as getting the international sports, international side working with DGPT Europe. I think the recent swing we saw in Europe was huge for the sport, and they did such an incredible job. Did you guys watch the Estonia tournament? Just that location, just the commentary.
So sick. That was so sick.
It was better than what we have here, and I think it just shows the passion and just the overall quality that we can expect in the future from events like that overseas.
Any event that doesn't have a video board and smoke guns going off, like, come on, it's truly amateur hour.
Yeah, so that skills contest was so cool to watch.
Yeah, and like, that's kind of Olympic level stuff right there. If they see that, the more we see that, the more they can be like, oh yeah, well, let's consider disc golf in the future, ultimate Frisbee or whatever. It'd be cool to see disc golf kind of branch more into different continents, not just Europe and North America, Asia, Africa, all that stuff. And I think we're seeing a lot of growth in Africa. It's just the logistical side is hard in Africa, getting discs, baskets over there. So that's probably not in the next 5 years, but I think we can look forward to that in the future, because the wealth of talent in Africa is, from what I've seen personally, is unbelievable. We got 8-year-olds hucking buzzes like 300 feet. So I think we have a lot to look forward to. I think there's a lot of work to do on the international side, but with people like Gannon and all these young guys coming up, it's bright, like, he's going to attract bigger sponsors just with his level of play and his aura, like and we haven't even seen but he's 19 years old.
Crazy.
Like, when he's 25, I don't even know what's going to happen. So we could see like the first like Nike sponsored disc golfer or Adidas sponsored disc golfer, and it might be a player like Gannon. So just the elevated talent level and just overseas stuff is looking good. So I think future disc golf is looking good. If that was the question, I don't even know what was going on.
No, definitely was. And I'll actually add a little follow-up, because I mentioned in the question for you about Uganda that was your first international win, at least what I can tell from Mando. That is for my stats and research. I use a lot of Mando. Nice. You now have 2 international wins, adding the BC Open. But I noticed that you haven't played any tournaments in Europe before, and you skipped out on the Europe swing this year. Are you waiting to go next year for when Worlds is over in Finland? Are you going to be making the trip over next year and getting to play in Europe finally?
Yeah, I think for me personally, Europe has always been somewhat of a financial
understandable
gamble. Like, to go over there, I could go over there, but it's pretty much a vacation at that point, which I have to deserve, and I don't think I deserve that. But I always plan on going over there. Just last minute, I'm just like, I'm going to play some local tournaments here. I'm going to get some teeth pulled out and some COVID instead. But yeah, definitely Worlds next year. I'm looking to go. Nice. I'll be going with the crew, with Eric, James, and all of them, because they've been over there so many times. I can kind of rely on them, because I'm definitely not going by myself, because I will be lost and confused depressed and anxious. And so if I can team up with them and kind of have them handle not all of it, but most of the logistics, that'd be ideal. And but anxiety is a huge aspect of going over Europe too, because there's just so many logistics going from country to country. And I just have a hard time imagining dealing with that.
Yeah, I totally understand that. But looking ahead to if you do make that trip, is there a city, a course, something that you're looking forward to the most if you do make that trip?
Yeah, like Tampa. Is that Tampere, right?
Yeah,
Tampere?
Yeah,
Tampere,
looks
thank you.
insane.
Yeah, I think that's on Disc Golf Valley, maybe, or is that the Beast, or is that
No,
Yarba? That's Yarba.
the Beast
Okay.
is the Beast is in Nokia, and then
Okay.
Tampere was
The monster.
was the monster, which was the
Okay.
first two rounds of the European Open. Then the Beast was the final two. I
Yeah.
think it's both of those courses for Worlds next year too. I believe.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I can't wait for both those courses, and I know most of the Europeans that come over here, and if they're any indication of how awesome the community is over there, like Vino is one of my favorite people in the world. He's just so cool, and Antela is they're just awesome guys, and just seeing the reception that all the Americans got this year over there, just I can't wait to get over there and see what happens. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
It would be amazing playing in front of crowds that big.
Oh yeah, that big. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Yeah.
So serious question here.
Uh-oh.
When do you think the PDGA magazine will stop mixing you and Chandler Kramer up? They obviously you two look very, very similar, and so it's easy to mix them up. And do you have a plan to take out friend of the show Chandler Kramer Highlander style? Because there can be only one Chandler on tour.
Well, serious answer. I love Chandler Kramer. He's one of my buds on tour. It's just weird that they get me and him, like the Chandler's confused because there's only two of us. I think it's happened twice now.
Yeah.
And there's so many Jameses, so many like Aarons, so many Erics, so many Pages, and they don't confuse any of them. So it's kind of insulting. The editor of the magazine did come up to both of us and apologize profusely. So I respect that, but like I kind of looked at it first, kind of angry, but the more I look at it, the more it's kind of like whatever, because it's just kind of hilarious. But on a serious note, I think the PJ has to consider just getting rid of the magazine, because I know from a personal standpoint, when I get that magazine, I don't read it. It just stays in the plastic and just goes on my desk, Yep. And I don't know. I don't know if the older generations of disc golfers read it. I'm sure a lot of people do read it, but it'd be a lot easier if it's just a website, like put the articles on the website. I think that's somewhat of a waste of money for them. Membership dues, money so just get rid of that and move on from that, and then there will not be any confusion as far as which Chandler is which. Yeah.
Do you feel like ever just fully embracing the mix-up and dyeing your hair and beard purple at some point?
I'm gonna let Chandler continue doing that. He seems to enjoy it. I tried dyeing my hair green one time, and it came out like this weird light. It was awful. It was a bet about if the Seahawks lost, and I lost, and so I'm not gonna dye my hair anytime soon. Chandler looks pretty good with that dark purple or dark blue hair.
Looks good.
So I'll let him continue that adventure. I'm not.
I was kind of surprised that he pulled it off as well as he did when he did the beard too to go along with the hair. I was like, damn it actually looks pretty good. He
looked kind of like a Christmas elf or something, like some kind of jolly character. Yeah, but he's such a cool guy. He's still, a lot of people don't remember, but he's still a pretty young player, and I keep on telling him to learn a backhand, but he just doesn't. He does have a pretty solid backhand. He just doesn't trust.
I saw him working on it.
Yeah. If people actually see his backhand, they'd be pretty impressed. But his sidearm is just so good, he doesn't need it yet. Yeah,
we had him on the show. About a month and a half ago, something like that.
Yeah,
and it was a pleasure chatting with him. He seems like a great kid, and it's awesome to see him throw.
Yeah, and there's actually I've been meeting a lot of Chandlers on the road. I don't know if the name's gaining popularity, but I think Chandler Ray from Washington just threw the farthest in FA1 at Amateur World Championships. So
nice.
Look out for her in the future. She is a killer. She's really good and a great personality too. So I'm hoping she does some cool things. But yeah, Chandler's for the win.
Chandler's represent.
Yeah.
Well, Chandler, we have taken up a lot of your time. We thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, we've got a little series of questions that we like to ask all our guests. Just some little quick one-hitters, first thing that comes to your mind. And the first one that I've got for you is, if you weren't a disc golfer, what would you be doing?
I'd be a teacher. I'd be a early education teacher, or potentially a spec ed teacher, just something helping younger kids. Yeah, I don't know.
Love it.
That's what I used to do. So that wasn't a one-word answer, but yeah. All right.
It works.
Yeah.
You're on the road. It's in the evening. You're going out karaoke. What is your go-to song that you can belt out?
Huey Lewis, "Power of Love." There we go.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Top 10 choice.
Absolute banger.
Yeah.
Love it.
10 out of 10, no notes.
Absolutely. You're rocking down the highway going from tournament to tournament, and you see, a nice food sign up in the distance. You're craving some food. What's that? What are you most excited to see coming up in the distance? What's your go-to on the road food spot?
It's kind of regional, but since I'm where I'm at, I'm in Kentucky. Raisin Cane's. Raisin
Nice.
Cane's chicken is top notch. It is.
There we go.
Yeah, Raisin Cane's for sure.
Don't know that one, but I definitely have
Try
to
to get the
down
Caniac
there.
combo.
There we go.
So good. So good.
Fantastic. And lastly, you get to pick your dream card to play a round of disc golf with. Past, present, who are your top 3 players that you want to play around with?
Definitely James Proctor. I think his mentality towards the game and just his overall persona is just so enjoyable to be around. He's also really fun to watch. Nate Sexton, just for we've gone so far back, and he's such a legend. Just listen to his stories and all that. He doesn't stop talking, but listening to his stories is always fun. I love the guy. And then lastly, this would have to be a mixed tournament, but Erica Stinchcomb, just because she's one of my best friends on tour, and she's the person I call if I'm feeling sad. So, Erica, Nate, and James, and potentially Eric Oakley, but depends on how loud he's being that day.
I've had the
Big
pleasure
hit or
of
miss
meeting
there.
both of them, and they're just wonderful people.
Absolutely, yeah, some of the best.
Will you be at the MVP Open this year, do you think?
It's a qualifier tournament, right? So I think I have to qualify for it. So if I do, yes. If not, I'll probably still be there caddying for Ella or something.
Cool. Well, I'll be there spotting.
Awesome.
I'll be my 3rd year on staff, and hope to see you there.
Oh yeah, I don't want to miss it, but I'd rather play. But
Yeah.
I'll probably be there either way.
Well, Chandler, it has been awesome to have you on, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we finally let you go, do you have any shout outs, any sponsorships, anything like that you want to give to any of your fans? You mentioned it earlier, your Tour Series disc. How else can the people go out and support you?
Yeah, Tour Series Myth. Check it out, infinitediscs.com. I just had a whale stack design. I don't have it with me right now, but it's just a bunch of some of my favorite songbirds. Check that out on whalestacks.com. Pound disc golf. My pound bag is the best bag I've ever had in my entire life. And if you're looking to have a bag for life, get it. It's worth it. Quality, made in America, top notch. Levi is the best. And ThoughtSpace, support them. They're a small company, but they're looking to do big things. They got good product. So go buy the Nerf Pro Temple. Go buy one of the jerseys, not just my jersey, but any one of the team members' jersey. They all deserve it. And just go out and play disc golf and have fun, I guess.
Heck yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Chandler, thank you so much for joining us, man. Hope to have you on again at some point. That'd be great. Hope to see you up in Canada again at some point.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great. And best of luck with the rest of your season going forward. And this is an interview with Chandler Fry. Now I'm doing it. Yeah. I cursed it. I cursed myself. And now maybe I have to go and dye my hair for that mess up. But this has been Chandler Fry, and we will be right back on Missed Mando.
All right, Chandler Kramer signing out.
And welcome back to Missed Mando. Thank you so much to Chandler Fry, not Kramer, for joining us. I can't believe I butchered it in the ending there right after we talked about it. Kayla, you weren't here. You weren't joining us for the interview, so you'll have to watch it back and see. But
45 minutes, and look what happens.
Oh, it's so funny.
Rocky dismount in spirit of the Olympics. I'll go with the Rocky dismount terminology. Wasn't my finest work, but thank you so much to Chandler for joining us. That was an awesome interview, Shawnee G.
I had a blast talking with him. We're so happy that my wife Gabby cajoled him into agreeing to being on the show when she was down at USWDGC.
Yeah, Gabby's working in the background for us, getting these pros to say yes. Yeah, I know.
Heck yeah.
She's gonna start asking for a cut from all of our millions of revenue that we get from this show.
All about the AdSense.
Yeah.
Roll it in the revenue.
Exactly. But yeah, thanks so much
from patch sales. That's for sure.
Yes. No. That is a money pit right now.
Merch sales.
Exactly.
It's not patches.
Yeah. These Miss Mando hats do look fantastic. They really do. So yeah, thank you so much to Chandler for coming on for an interview, and we're going to roll right into another fantastic interview. We mentioned her already when we were breaking down the Guelph Royale, and we are so happy to bring on the FPO champion from the Guelph Royale, Alicia Hums, and we will be right back on Missed Mando with Alicia. Our next guest first joined the PDGA in 2021 and played her first tournament in November of that year. However, in 2022, she went pro right from the start, playing 13 events and winning 5 of them. In 2023, she continued playing amazing, winning 4 of 14 events and getting second in another 4. And so far this season, she has already won the King's Forest Open, a Muskoka Shootout, the Forefathers Open, and most recently the Guelph Royale, which she won by an impressive 8 strokes. Her full tour schedule is perhaps even more impressive, given that she is doing this living in Sudbury, which makes for a hell of a commute to all of these events across the province. We are pleased to welcome to the Missed Mando podcast, Alicia Hums. Alicia, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi guys, thanks so much for having me. Thanks for that intro. That was great. It's been
of course.
a busy season already.
Yeah, we got to bring the best for you. And you know what? Let's start with that busy season. How many kilometers are you putting on that car? That is a lot of driving and dedication coming from Sudbury.
We just purchased a new vehicle and we've already put 4,000 clicks on it. And it's just every 1,000, I get a tear runs down my cheek.
That's heavy racking up pretty quick then.
I hope that's not leased.
No, it's not. No.
Yeah, I just had to put a new battery in mine this afternoon, and there were like several tears streaming down. So I feel your pain.
Yeah.
But like anything for disc golf, because most of the miles on my car since I bought it have been disc golf related.
Oh yeah.
Let's start with your most recent win at the Guelph Royale. How were you feeling about your game plan going into the 2 courses over at Vic Valley and Eastview, and what was working best for you with your game that helped you take down this big win?
It's always fun playing a course or in a tournament after you've already done it once. You just feel so much more familiar with the lines and the space and your game plan, really. My first year there, so last year, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of just walk the course, know where the tees are, know where the baskets are. Whereas this year, it's like, okay, I know this shot, I know this hole, I know where to place, I know where to go, and that just helps a lot with those head games when you're feeling nervous. I feel like that has a huge impact on my game for sure. So that just started me off on the right track. Tournament day, I was just kind of in the zone, and my putting was honestly, like, even I was like, what is going on? I don't make circle 2 putts anytime I have it, but I was. So it was awesome. You kind of ride those putting waves and go for it.
Did I just think that? Like, was that me?
Yeah. Was that me? Did you see that? She's so good. Yeah. That's how I was feeling.
Love it. And like, I mean, you've played a lot. We were sort of talking about your commutes across the province. Is there a particular course style, a couple of courses you would highlight that you like better or worse? Like, do you have a favorite style, like an open bomber course, tight wooded, set of lines? I know that Sudbury sort of has a little bit of both, depending on when you play it, the summer or the winter. But any preference as far as what sort of style that you're playing in Ontario here?
Like Vic Valley obviously is a golf course, and Eastview is more of a wooded, it's a little bit of a parky kind of course. Which one was flowing with your game at the Royale?
Eastview is definitely going really well for me. It helps when you get some tree love as well. So be kind to the trees out there. It's funny, I feel more nervous in the woods just because there's more to hit. Your lines are tighter. You just have to be that much more precise, but I tend to shoot better in the woods. I think part of that is like my distance is okay, but I definitely think it could be better. And so when I get into a big bomber course, I think I have the tendency to try a little too hard, try and throw my discs a little bit further than maybe I can. And so I think a lot of my poor performances end up being on those longer courses.
So you've had a real hot streak recently. Your last 5 events, you've gone first, second, coming off of the, I believe it was the Aberdeen Glass Open that was just this past weekend. Another second place finish there. Has anything changed within your game to bring this level of consistency, or is this just, all cylinders are firing right now, everything's clicking within your game?
Cut out a little bit here. There we go. Sorry for the delay. There are a couple of things. During the month of June, I was recovering from a concussion, so that certainly did not help my game. Don't play soccer, just play disc golf, folks. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, a very, you don't think of soccer as being a dangerous sport, but as somebody who played it for 12 or 13 years, it very can be.
Yeah, heads and goalposts are a bad combination.
They are.
Is that what happened?
That is what happened.
Yeah. Oh, man. That is brutal.
But, I rebound. I had to get the rebound, and then goalie and I collided, and head hit goalpost.
Did you get the goal?
That's the worst part.
No.
But we did win the game.
Well, okay.
Kind of.
There we go. All right.
That's fine.
That's what matters.
And you were out there playing while still concussed.
Intermittently stubborn. It's low-key embarrassing. The first week I was off of work because I could do nothing except sleep. I had very localized pain. But I was like, it's localized. It's not a concussion. I'm tired. It's fine. Just let me sleep for a week and I'll get over it. Those are 2 major symptoms.
Funny thing turns out actually was a concussion.
Turns out.
For any kids watching at home, and I would imagine there are not very many, don't do that. If you get a head injury, just get it checked out. It doesn't hurt. My worst head injury was also in soccer, and I didn't get checked out either, so I can empathize. But it was an indoor soccer arena, field. I don't know what to call it when it's inside. But I was running to try to keep a ball in, and I did so in spectacular fashion, and then cranked my head off of a brick wall, or whatever it is the wall was made out of. It was very solid, and I did the same thing. I was like, it's just the front of my head that hurts. I'm fine. And refused to let my parents take me in, and they didn't. But I'm convinced now that was a concussion. I should not have done that.
No, yeah,
sneaky dangerous, that soccer game.
So that was the start of my season. I did go into the hospital because it was cut open raw. I had 5 staples, the whole fun thing.
Oof.
And
Did I see earlier today that there was an exercise that you did for the first time without having head pain, right? Was it a squat or a deadlift or something?
Yeah, squat. So for whatever reason, that was just irritating the head big time. So I couldn't do any squatting. I could do some deadlifting, but for whatever reason, once I got the bar on my back and had to kind of keep the weight up this way, my head wasn't having it. So yeah, I'm 9 weeks post concussion and squatting. But redirect back to disc golf. I think once that month of June passed and the symptoms started to subside, I started just being able to focus on my game and not just be concerned about what's going on with my head. So that's helped a lot. I did a ton of training this off season, and it felt like a slow start into the year. Like my spring was kind of meh. So it's nice to just be able to practice outside during the summer with the long days and the sun and no snow. And that helps.
Whether it was over the winter or things you're working on now with those longer days and that sun, anything specific that you were working on that you feel has brought that consistency we were talking about before? Like first, second is pretty impressive for a run of 5 events. So, you mentioned some work you were doing. Anything that comes to mind where you're like, yes, like this specifically was clicking outside of the recovery from the injury?
All joking aside about my putting at Eastview, putting's a big thing for me. Last year at the end of the year, I'm like, hey, season review, where did I lose the most strokes? And the answer was putting. So this winter I put a lot of time into putting, and even recently revamped the putt some more, and that's been huge. There's so much less pressure on your game when you don't have to feel like, oh, I need to park my upshot, otherwise I might not make that putt. It's like, okay, if I'm in the circle, I'm feeling pretty good about it, and knowing that I can sink those circle twos. I always say I want to make at least, if I'm in circle 2, I want to make at least 1 circle 2 putt around, and that's pretty huge. That's good. That's definitely a big improvement from last year.
How have you been working on those bigger putts and putting in general to get that confidence and that consistency with it? Because like my putting is embarrassingly bad, and any advice that you could that you can provide, things that you're working on that's working, I'm sure myself and especially Robbie, who is awful at disc golf, and our other listeners, I'm sure they would really appreciate some tips on that. How are you getting results?
Yeah. A putting tip Henrik Landon gave me a while ago was practice from a distance where you're confident making that putt. If that's 8 feet, then so be it. Then that's where you are, and like just sort of coming to terms with your skill level and practicing at that distance where you can make. Because I see it all the time, and guilty as well. If you're not making 25 footers consistently and you're just standing there putting from 25 feet, missing 50% of the time, you're kind of practicing missing. And that's not what you want.
I do not need that practice. I am very skilled.
Yeah.
Like it's not an arm's length drop in. It's a risk.
Yeah. So
thankfully my arms are very long.
Yeah, long arms. Advantage, unfair. Come on. So yeah, that's sort of start sort of there with your basis. And then myself, I'm so in my head. I have to get out of my head. I know that is something I have to work on. And so frequently I'm like, okay, don't overthink this 12-foot putt. You can make a 12-foot putt. And then in my attempt to not overthink it, I rush it and then I miss it anyway. So for myself, a huge thing I've been working on is just slowing down and turning off that brain. You're like, right, just repetition. I'm just putting the disc into the basket. Is it for a birdie? Is it for a double bogey? It doesn't matter. I'm putting the disc into the basket and just going through those repetitions is super key. And then something I've always done, and I think it's so important to really encourage anyone who's practicing their putting to do, is to always, when you do miss, I'm not making 100% of my putts when I'm practicing, putt your misses. So if I have an air ball and I yank it 20 feet, go to that spot and make that comeback. And again, I think part of that's just that head game piece. So knowing, okay, if I mess up on the course, if I kind of yank it, if I get nervous, it's fine. I can make that comeback. I can make my comeback. And then on top of that, if your comebacks are 40 feet, there's something else you probably want to work on. You don't ever want to be pulling or shooting something 40 feet past the basket, right? So your misses should be makeable.
Yeah, and I actually think that tip about practicing at a distance like where you're comfortable can integrate really nicely with another tip that I heard, which I haven't really integrated as much as I should, but sort of picking a distance where you're comfortable at the same time and sort of putting as if the basket is 5 feet further away. So if that's like 8 feet, putt from 8 feet like the basket is 13 feet away. And as soon as you feel comfortable with like that rhythm, that pace on the putt, just sort of backing it up and then actually putting for 13 feet like you're putting from 13 feet and then sort of repeating it and like getting to a point where like you've got that putt down before you're actually taking it from that distance. So I actually kind of love that from Henrik, and I'd heard that tip, and like I'm notorious for being bad at practicing just in general, but especially with putts. Like it's something that has never come easy for me, and it just feels like it comes and goes at times, but I want to be more intentional about it when and where that I can. And I like the idea of sort of like putting those two together, of that putting 5 feet further and then moving back to that distance, but starting really close. Like, you know, if it's like 12 feet for me where I feel like I can actually make those, and that might be pretty close to the answer, you know, putting like at 17 and then backing up and so on and so forth. So I like it. Henrik knows what he's talking about.
And I like that progression. It's good, because it's great if 8 feet or 12 feet is where you're comfortable, but how do I make it further? How do I get further away? That's great.
What about off the putting green? How are you dialing in more of the drives or mid-range throws and stuff like that? I know I've seen in the winter you get to throw in a nice indoor dome. I've seen that, which is always awesome. I've done that a couple times in Brampton. Which something about throwing in a dome is just really fun, regardless of the weather. But especially when, I mean, we talked about how you're from Sudbury, so the winter is even worse for you than us here in Southern Ontario. But even during the summer months, are you doing field work? Are you just playing more kind of casual rounds and maybe taking a couple extra throws off the tee when you're playing out at the Sudbury course? How do you kind of tackle that aspect of it?
Yeah, I am definitely still a field work girl during the summer as well. I'm fortunate that my career outside of disc golf, but as a teacher, I have my summers off, so I get to be a full-time disc golfer for the summer months. And so, yeah, like today, this morning, I was just reflecting on my second place finish this last weekend and where I lost strokes, and it was my approaches from 150 to 130. There were lots of like fast greens and hills, and my favorite kind of go-to approach is a hyzer, which doesn't work very well on those greens. So I'm like, okay, let's practice those 130, 150 foot approaches from all angles. So not just a hyzer, but a flat and my Annie approach, depending on what you need. So that was my morning practice. And then after that, I played a casual round. My casual rounds, I always try, especially with this sort of putting focus, putt twice. There's some practice round or something out there that's like twice. You have to do it twice or it was lucky. Like it was luck.
Twice or it's luck.
That's right.
Yep, twice or it's luck.
So I definitely embody that during my practice rounds. And then, yeah, actually before I joined you guys sitting, we have a basket set up in our living room, and I was cooking dinner and putting at the same time.
Multitasking at its finest.
Right. It's great. Strongly recommend taking over your living room with a basket.
Oh, absolutely.
You mentioned earlier head game. How's the mental game working for you these days? Are you staying focused? Are you able to keep things together on the course when things maybe start to slip a little?
Yes and no. Fair. I always try to go into a tournament round thinking it's just like any other practice round, just like any other day out on the course. And my running joke in the Hums household is like, oh, we're going to have so much fun today. We're just going to have so much fun today. And then the rebuttal is like, yeah, winning's fun. Winning is really fun. But yeah, just trying to keep it loose and relaxed. Tense, Alicia is not a good disc golfer. So focusing on being relaxed and just living in that moment, living each shot for shot is so important to the success of my game. So working on having that short memory and not spiraling after a bad hole is something I'm working on. Some days it works better than others. I think some of my like top rounds this season, it was like I was just in the zone and it didn't matter. If I made a mistake, I'd correct. If I hit a tree off the tee, I'd dial in that approach shot. If I laid the approach short, I'd make a good putt. So on those days, it's like you're just like, okay, you walk up to your line, it's like, what do I have to do? Doesn't matter what it was that got me there. What do I have to do now?
Yeah, I think that's the game.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what we need. That's what we all need to sort of focus on. And was it on Ted Lasso, be a goldfish? Forget that the last shot, the last hole, can't get those back. Focus on where you're now and make it.
I thought Ted Lasso was be curious, not judgmental, and you always had to throw darts and talk about stories with your father.
And I'm extremely judgmental, mostly about you two.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'm also very much a goldfish because my memory is absolutely awful.
Well, we do know that. You're very forgetful about patch sizes, that's for sure.
Yes, 100%.
So, Alicia, we mentioned in your intro that you joined the PDGA with the COVID boom in 2021. What first got you into the sport? I think you might have been a transition athlete from Ultimate. Do you still play that too as well?
Yeah. So I don't quite fit the Ultimate to disc golf stereotype. I kind of started the two at the same time. My now husband introduced me to both of them. And originally I did gravitate towards Ultimate Frisbee. I have a background in like soccer and rugby, so field sports. So I'm like, sweet. Yeah, I want to run around on a field, throw this disc, sure. So I did quite a bit of Ultimate, quite heavily, I'd say for 2 years, focusing more on that with disc golf splashed in, and played some tournaments, played on Sudbury's touring team. Did that for a bit, and then once COVID hit, Ultimate was no more, and I went for many walks in parks with discs in my backpack.
That's totally fair. I thought our shared sport list would end with disc golf and soccer. I also played rugby, high school and university for a little bit, so I'm curious because I don't mean for this to be like judgmental in one way or the other, but like I wouldn't have pegged you as a rugby player. What position did you play? I'm curious.
I was 11, like weak side wing. I'm fast. I can run.
As was I.
Nice.
So, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, that was my only asset is I was small and fast, so I was hard to tackle, and I would be hopefully further up than you by the time you were trying to tackle me. So, hell yeah.
I'll just step back.
You know each other for a few years and didn't know that.
Yeah, that's fun. Small worlds. I joke all the time that Sudbury is where rugby goes to die. There's like zero rugby.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And it's tough to find a casual league. Like I played in high school. I played 1 year of varsity, and it was way too difficult from like a balancing like schedule and like athletics perspective. And I was like, I'm done with this. But then I felt like revisiting it when I came back to Milton. I was like, oh, never mind. There's none here. So I don't know if it's a Milton and Sudbury thing or just in the world there's not enough rugby thing, but I think we need a little bit more rugby and a few more weak side wings playing disc golf.
There we go. I always say it's probably a good thing because I love this disc golf community. I love it with all you people. And if rugby was a thing, I probably wouldn't have found disc golf. Disc golf definitely fit in that. Like, I like competitive sports. I'm an adult. I don't have any competitive sports in my life. What do I do?
That's you seem like quite a competitive person. In a competitive household, So we also know that your husband Thomas is also a disc golfer. Is he also a multi-sport athlete? And how competitive are you against him in disc golf? Who has more wins? I think it's probably you. Obviously, you are the better player. Forget that other guy. That's the time that you can trash talk your husband, and also please trash talk other Ontario Power disc golf couple, Colleen McInnes and Chris Brown. Please, let's make this as brutal as possible.
As brutal as possible. I've been told the Humses are the disc golf power couple in Ontario, so we're really embracing that. The one and only. Yeah. Oh,
you have a team uniform yet?
Not yet.
Hums or nuns?
We should actually, when we played Ultimate, we got our jerseys, and we were recently married. I was so excited to get Hums on the back of my jersey. And then Thomas, I was like, we're going to have matching jerseys. So cute. And he's like, I'm going to put Goku on mine. Oh, don't. No team jerseys.
What a jerk.
Thomas is awesome. Thomas is the reason I discovered disc golf in the first place. And he's, I'm competitive. He is at a whole other level of competitive. It's pretty wild. I think he drives some of my competitive force. Like, it's just like I just want to beat him, you know. And though I may have more wins than him on my PDG record, he's definitely a bit stronger of a disc golfer than I am. So when we play against one another, more often than not, he walks away victorious. But there are several times I have beat him, and I always make sure the world knows when it happens.
As you should.
This year, for the first time, I'd actually performed better than him in a couple tournament rounds, and it was probably a not so good round for him, but a good round for me. So that one I can't rub in his face too much, but I can do it here. He's not around.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but not nothing. Like you can't not rub it in, even just a little bit.
Yeah, like, oh, when did you score that round? With a slight smile. But yeah, Thomas comes from a super competitive sport background. He was on the national cycling team, so he knows for indoor track cycling. He knows what it takes to perform at and that the as high as it gets sort of level. So it's definitely kind of an inspiration to have him. My husband's kind of cool.
He is kind of cool. He's pretty great. So you've in a pretty short amount of time, you've sort of you've made some statements on the courses with your play, and that's attracted some sponsorships.
Yeah, I feel.
What's the current list of sponsors for Alicia Hums?
Yeah, I feel so honored to represent 3 amazing brands this year. So Circle One, they're an apparel company. I'm repping one of their t-shirts right now. They've got some amazing disc golf specific apparel, and they've branched out. They've got stuff for pickleball, regular golf, and just everyday cozy apparel. So shout out to Corey and that amazing team. I'm throwing some amazing plastics. So Thought Space Athletics has been backing me. Last year I was on the ambassador team, and I was elevated onto the tour team this year, which was pretty exciting. Yeah. So thanks, Aaron and the team there. But I get to throw plastic that I'm throwing anyway and rep that brand. Sean, I like your jersey. Nice.
That's right. Rep it.
Yeah. So that's been awesome. I always tell this story. I threw the mana. I threw Colleen's mana. She's like, try this disco. I threw it, and I was like, this disc is unreal. I want to throw their plastic. And then not long after, the ambassador application opened up, and kind of joined. Yeah, so nice. Our running joke in Ontario right now, not a joke though, this is very serious. If you are an FPO with an open bag in Ontario, you have to have a She-Dizer mana in your bag. It's a rule.
I think that seems mandatory. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then...
And are we talking sorry, just quickly, like the woman on the horse doing the stretch, or are we talking like Canadian Nationals? Man, I think one of those, and it is like the best understable mid that I own.
Nice. I think we all have the lady on the horse, but I think both are acceptable.
Of course, yeah. And not to cut off, sorry, the other sponsors you're going to highlight, but I'm a Thought Space fan at heart, so had to drill in on that a little bit. But back to you. Sorry.
No, that's okay. And then my third sponsor in the lineup this year is Disc Republic out west, and they're just awesome. Jason's unreal. We had kind of touched base. I'd met him 2 years ago up in Thunder Bay, and then touched base again last year, and it just seemed like a really good match. And they have anything and everything you could ever need disc golf related. So,
really great store. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would love to make my way out there.
I think I've bought him like a car at this point from buying stuff from them. You mentioned you were elevated from the ambassador to the tour team. What did that do for you? I'm not as familiar with Thought Space's sort of team levels compared to like Innova's or Discrafts or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So the tour team is, I guess, their team just above the ambassador team. So it's provided me with just a bit more support in terms of plastic and some performance bonuses. So just sort of the next level up with the team, and it's nice to have that support and feel that support. And having gone from ambassador to dish tour team, it feels almost that much better. Like, okay, we liked what we saw last year, and we see you can go on a fun 1-1, 2-1, 5 tournament straight. Let's support that.
I think you're now the 4th Thought Space team member that we've had on the show, more than any other players. You're the 2nd one on this episode alone. We also have Chandler Fry on the show today, and so Thought Space is basically taking over Miss Mando, and I think we're all probably pretty okay with that.
I was just about to say that we're taking over. Super okay with it.
Super okay with that. Yeah, it's encouraged.
For the record, we are open to sponsorship. We will take your money, 100%. Aaron will reach out any day now, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've had my phone at the ready beside my bed ever since we started the podcast. It hasn't rung yet, but I haven't given up hope. Never would. Speaking of discs and brands that you have in your bag, this feels like a good transition, because the bag that you, I would imagine, are playing out of is now a pound bag from an Ace at Forefathers that you had, which, not to brag or anything, but I did it, a year earlier.
A year before, so last year.
In a way that I'm sure is much more lucky. I'm curious what your line was there. That's not my question. Because I airmailed something that I thought was way too wide through the branches of that cedar. It was to the right of the basket, and it somehow just went straight through them and in. And I was like, I will never do that again, but I'm happy about it.
But I'll take it.
Anyway, the smooth transition that I've gotten so far away from that is no longer smooth at all was your bag is now a pound bag because of that awesome ace that you hit. What's in it? What are some of your must-have discs? What are you loving right now?
Yeah, I recently switched, about 2 months ago, and maybe this is part of the reason my putting has been so successful. I switched to the Alters, Thought Space's discs. I was hooked on links for a really long time, and I'm like, no, this is the year. I'm switching to a TSA putter. It is time. They have amazing putters, throwing putters, putting putters. Let's do it. So,
you like that big bead, do you?
Yeah, I need the bead. That is probably the one must for me. So I'm loving the Alters. They just released the firm nerve plastic in the Alters as well. If you're a firm plastic putter, that's huge. I've got my mana. I could rave about the mana. Give me a full hour of mana and mana, but I won't. But And my Pathfinder, my go-to sort of straight stable mid-range. I've got a slightly beefier M1 in there from Prodigy. That's sort of the mid-range putter game. And my Praxis, is my throwing putter. Why is this so hard? I throw these discs like all day, every day. So some of my fairways, I love the Vodum. It's so good. I've got a Glow Vodum, which I always call my Glowdum. I feel like that should pick up. It's just so good. So that's my beefy. Yeah. Galen, okay, thanks.
I'm so here for that. Yeah.
My Glowdum is my beefy Vodum, and then nice stamp on that. And then I've got a James Proctor Signature Series Vodum as my sort of straighter, fly further Vodum. Love it. And then I've got my Mantra in there as well as sort of my flippier fairway. I do also have a Light Escape that I really like in the woods that gets me out of trouble. It's a good standstill disc for me.
For the pound bag that you won, just to go back to that, have you gotten it yet?
Okay,
or no. Which one did you win? What colors? What are we talking here?
I know I just avoided that part of the question because
Totally fine. I totally understand.
Honestly, I got the ace and Oz was like, hey, we'll touch base next week, and it's no longer next week, and we have yet to touch base.
So,
come on, Oz.
Experience bother him. I also, when I hit that ace, it was also an elevated ace hole, and I would, he just has a million things going on. So it's not at all a dig for me. But if you don't remind him, he's not going to be proactively out there. He has, the ODSA to run, tournaments to win, and all that. So if I were you, and I'm not, I'd be a lot better at disc golf. Send him a message. Be like, hey, what's going on there, bud? But nicer and more polite than that, because I'm sure he'll answer you right away and be like, I am so sorry. Here is your thing.
Come on, Oz.
That's how it was for me. I was like, I had the exact same experience where I was like, hey, so that bag, and he was like, oh my God, yes, 100%. Here it is. When do you want it? Where do you want it? You've got it. No problem.
No problem.
He's the sweetest guy, just busy.
We don't want to demote Oz from friend of the show to vague acquaintance of the show. So come on,
he's so good.
Hook our girl up here with the bag that she won. Do you know is it a Rufus? Is it Octahall? What do we think?
I was reading the ODSA's post, and it actually looks like it's one of their practice bags, the side sort of luggage bags. And I did buy a new Squatch bag at the start of this season from Disc Republic. I might just stick with that bag. I've also kind of hemmed and hawed of seeing if they'll kind of give me a credit, and then I can put that towards a Rufus is what I would buy. I just need something smaller. Really good.
I have a Rufus, and it's a fantastic bag.
Yeah. I need a small bag. So, this is half the reason I haven't reached out to Oz, because I don't really know what I want to do. So I'll take half the fall here. But sorry, Galen, I was trying to ace it. It was straight at the basket with my back axis right out of hand. It was pretty exciting.
Hey, I was trying to ace it too. I just threw it badly and got away with it.
Speaking of competitive household, that round I was playing with the MPOs. There were only 3 of them, and so an FPO was filled their card, and so Thomas Helms was on their card. He threw first. I was like, oh, that's kind of AC, and then it hit a tree, kicked away, and so I'm like, here, let me show you how it's done.
I love that.
A celebration to go along with it, too, because my group was putting out on hole 4 just down the hill right behind the tee pad of 16 that you were standing on. And we knew right away that it was an ace celebration and nothing else. It was full out.
But yeah.
As it should have been.
Yeah, first tournament ace and a pound elevated basket at that.
Heck yeah.
Incredible.
That's a good one to hit. So you've mostly played tournaments in Ontario. You've gone a couple times outside the province. I mentioned earlier the Aberdeen Glass Open. You also did the Syracuse Open. How did you like the U.S. events? Did you notice anything different about them compared to local events?
Syracuse was a huge field. It had a ton of added cash, so that was a very big event. That was sort of our draw to that tournament. The Hendels had played it last year, and Sandy had spoken very, very highly of it. So we, wanted to check that one out. My performance was subpar, but that was 4 days post concussion. So though I don't like leaning solely on that, I'm leaning on that. It was tough. It was a battle out there. I was dead last after the first round. I did kind of claw my way back rounds 2 and 3 though. I ended up only missing the cash by 2 strokes. So that was kind of a fun victory in and of itself. So that one had a big players party, big meeting, like just kind of felt, I don't know, I would say it felt like any AB tier that we have here. I think the events that we do choose to go to in the States tend to have a lot of added cash as it's a bit more of a trek for us. And so because of that, they tend to be bigger events. So they just kind of have those bigger event vibes to them.
How did you like the Aberdeen last weekend?
Yeah, tough course. So
very tough course.
Long. I don't know how long, but I know on UDisc it mentioned something along the lines of like one of the longest courses in the state or country or something like that.
I think the gold layout is like 11,000 feet. It's massive.
Amazing. It's beautiful. It was beautiful. It was on a ski hill. Tough. I would say my game, I was really clean off the tee, loved my tee shots, but then every shot after that felt like a scramble because there were a lot of trees and like long wooded treed holes. So it was like, oh, I did what felt like a perfect shot. Now it feels like I'm scrambling. And so it was sort of this like weird like mental battle of, oh no, this is kind of what it's supposed to be like, just execute. Don't hit those trees. So that was tough. And then as I mentioned earlier, those approaches on some like elevated sort of angled slopes got away from me more than I care to admit.
Are you thinking about expanding your list of out of province tournaments in 2025? Are there any events that are on your radar? And what events for the remainder of this year are you really psyched about playing?
Yeah, so this year, Syracuse was originally the only out-of-province tournament we had, and we were kind of excited. We're like, okay, this is like a new adventure for us. So we were just planning on having the one, actually, but I've been tournament hungry, probably partially influenced by my success as of late. And so we had last weekend off and just did some disc golf scene searching and found that one, found out there was room. We knew some people going. It was closer to us than Syracuse, so we're like, let's do it. Yeah, so next year, probably the same thing. We'll probably plan for a couple. I think both those tournaments we probably want to go back to. We had fun, whether we performed, we were hoping to or not. They were a lot of fun. They were good tournaments, great TDs, great events. So we'll definitely go back to that. This year was the first year both Thomas and I received an invite to Worlds, which was kind of fun. So we're not going this year, but kind of knowing that may be a possibility, we could potentially explore
next
that
year in Europe.
Here, we do really want to go to Europe. That
would be amazing.
I know, and Thought Space, Circle One. I do really want to go venture down into Maine, like Portland. There's a huge disc golf scene there, and I have major FOMO like every time there's an event happening there. So I would love to do that.
Yeah, you got to get over to the main states at some point, I presume. Not this year, because this year is the Innova Rip on the same weekend, and which you are signed up for.
That's right. That was the next part of your question, like big events coming up. That's definitely probably our biggest one of the season. The Review series. I just saw today Paige Pierce is officially going, which is pretty cool. Had you told me a few years ago that I was like playing in a field with Paige Pierce, I would have like, cool. I don't know.
You might get on her card. How cool would that be?
Be fun. Yeah, we gotta keep putting in that practice for the next month.
Now we gotta get you on the feature card. We'll talk to Daryl. We'll see if we can make that happen. Yeah. Come on, Daryl.
We've been pushing the goat and that tournament a lot on this podcast, so I think we've earned some sway with Daryl. But Alicia, yeah, absolutely. Alicia, thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, we want to hit you with a couple of kind of lightning round style questions that we like to ask everybody that we have on. Just some quick answers, whatever comes to your mind first. And, we've mentioned a couple times through the interview that, you're coming from Sudbury, spend a lot of time driving to tournaments and whatnot. So if you're driving to a tournament, what song comes on and makes you just instantly turn that volume to max and sing your heart out?
Oh gosh. We recently watched Wolverine and Deadpool, like a persona has been.
Yes.
It's the first song on my liked list right now.
Oh yeah. Also, side note, that movie was so good.
So good.
Yeah. Just a brief sidebar. I mentioned I just got back from vacation. I was in BC for 11 or 12 days or something like that. Day one was about 3 days after the release, and my wife had been staying with her family, and I was like, I know we're on vacation. I know we have family things. I don't care. Yeah. We're seeing Deadpool and Wolverine this afternoon at 1 p.m., and we did it. I was like, this is perfect. Worth it.
Yeah.
100% worth it. So whether it's post-watching Deadpool and Wolverine or in between disc golf stops, what is your favorite place when you're on the road to stop for some food? Like road trip, what do you want to eat in a vacuum? What are you thinking?
My post-tournament meal has been pho noodles lately. Cannot get enough.
Nice.
And then ice cream. Give me ice cream post-round. I'm like a ice cream zombie.
A woman of culture, I see.
Absolutely. Absolutely solid pick. And third question, what is a movie that never gets old for you no matter how many times you watch it? Like you're back when we would switch, clicking channels, you catch it, you're hooked, you're in every time.
Okay, can I cheat and pick two?
You can.
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay, my favorite trilogy of all time is like Batman Begins. Love that trilogy. I've seen it so many times, but then I had to think of like a movie I've seen on repeat so many times, School of Rock.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. So,
I used to have the finale song on my iPod growing up.
I like the range.
As Robbie said, a woman of culture for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Last of our rapid fire questions here. 3 people to build your dream card to play with. There are no restrictions. Current players, past players, FPO, MPO, amateur disc golfers, like, Sean and I, obviously. Honestly, even non-disc golfers. 3 people to play with you on your dream card. Who would you like to play with?
Non-disc golfers. That is like a whole other ballpark here. Okay. So, Kristen Tatar is like almost always on there. She's just unreal. Yep. I'm obsessed with Albert Tom's distance and his throw. It's like, I just watch his distance throw videos on repeat all the time. And now I don't know who to say for number 3.
While you're thinking about that,
Bill Nye.
I think it's September, Kristen is playing the CCR Open in Michigan, an A tier. Forget the kids, the day job, skip it. Like, just like, oh no, I'm cough, I'm sick.
I'm sick.
Sign up, drive, bolt down to Michigan, get on a card with her.
What do we
Do it.
So I really like this plan. Do you think
Solid
that
plan, I think.
my brother will care if I don't feel well, cough, and I can't attend his wedding?
No.
Oh,
That's a him problem. That's not. It's not. It is not. your fault that he picked the wrong weekend to get married.
I told him
Maybe he can have it at the course.
Oh, there we
Like
go.
relocate it to Michigan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah,
he's
that's
coming-
not a
Place
big.
where you get married, like it's called Michigan.
It's called Michigan. He's coming back to Ontario from BC for his wedding. But why go to Ontario when you can go to Michigan?
Yeah, it's right around the corner from Ontario. It's close enough.
Cool.
Yeah.
Same.
Of course.
Yeah.
I
So
have my
we've
third.
delayed.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say
okay.
delayed long enough. If you do have a third,
Yeah. Or like, did I
I'd be
just
curious.
like rambling about the wedding? No. So I have to. I'm sticking with 3 disc golfers. I've got to do Simon Lizotte. His videos were probably
Nice.
the first videos that really like hooked us when we first got into disc golf. He's an entertainer. He's a talented disc golfer, absolutely, but he's an entertainer too. So I'd love to play around with him.
Heck yeah. Well, I would absolutely pay to watch that card. That's for sure. That sounds like a fun one to watch. Alicia, before we let you go, do you have any shout outs or any final comments that you would like to give? The floor is all yours.
Yeah, well, we gave a big shout out to my sponsors already this season, but we'll shout out C1, Thought Space Athletics, and Disc Republic again. Got to shout out my husband Thomas for making this crazy life that we've embraced, disc golf. I want to thank you guys so much for having me on the show. I was pretty honored when you guys reached out. So thanks. I really appreciate that.
The honor, Alicia, is all ours. Thank you so much again for joining us, and we will be right back on Miss Mando.
And welcome back to Missed Mando. Thank you so much to Alicia for joining us. That was another awesome interview. So happy to have her on, and she is having quite the season so far. Hey, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, say that's an understatement. We are going to move on now from some local stuff into some Pro Tour stuff. We're going to talk a little tournament recaps. And Shawnee G, let's throw it over to you, my friend.
The European Disc Golf Festival went down in Tallinn, Estonia, and it has truly set a new bar for disc golf tournament presentation. The event was held at the Tallinn Song Festival grounds, which is this like big outdoor amphitheater stadium. The first hole started up on a platform, like way up in the bleachers, and the organizers had these huge video boards, like pro NFL style. The players who could come out, and there was from a tunnel, and there was like smoke guns going off. It was so hype. It was amazing, like pro level thing. It was like absolutely nothing that we've seen before in the sport, and it's truly a new high watermark for like making the pros feel like pros.
Yeah.
I have to imagine, like, it's super psyched up. And then once you got there, the first hole, you're throwing from this elevated platform in the bleachers down to like the amphitheater, with OB all over the place. And then hole 18 was from the back of the amphitheater towards the stage. Overall, it didn't seem like a super difficult course. It wasn't quite birdie or die, but it was fairly straightforward. Like each hole had a specific shot that you had to execute, and if you executed that shot well, then you did that well. There didn't seem to be a lot of choice or decision making that went into each of the holes, but still super entertaining to watch. Friends of the show, Thomas Gilbert and Sophia Dunica, were there competing, and Sophia cashed. She finished in 14th. She did really well. Another friend of ours, Heather Gilmore, was over there, and she caddied for Thomas, which was super cool. When it was all said and done, Ricky Wysocki and Missy Gannon took it down. Missy in a one-hole playoff against Evelina Salonen, who just couldn't putt at all. Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah, unfortunately, the putting the putting for Evelina still seems to be an issue. And Missy, I mean, you can't let her get close because she's going to take it down, and she did. Robbie, let's go over to you. What players or are there any results or stats that jump out to you?
Yeah, I got a couple. One thing I will say first, Evelina, at least we've seen this year that when she can put the putt together, and when she does, it results in wins. I mean, she has 3 wins this year, I believe only behind Kristen and Missy in terms of total wins. So she's having a great year, but man, when that putt is off, it is off, and it's bad. But yeah, so Missy Gannon, she wins her 9th career Elite Series or major event, tying her for 9th all time in FPO with Ontario's own Elaine King. Now, of course, Elaine, 5 of those wins are world championships, tied for the most all time. And Missy's 4 wins this season trail only Kristen Tatar, but she's living up to the big money Missy nickname as she has the most cash earned in FPO this season, just shy of 50K so far this year. Kristen, she finishes in 8th place. This is tying her worst Elite Series or major finish of her career with 2018 Worlds, but she has still never missed the top 10 in 53 events played at Elite Series or major level. That is absolutely
so
wild.
Crazy.
8th place is the worst she's ever placed at a Elite Series or major event.
And I clocked that as being a pretty poor result for her, for the standard that she set, but never off the top of my head is sort of like a gut reaction, but when I've gone, wow, the worst result at that level of her career. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Like it's these things that, like, when we talk about them, to be truths about disc golf, because she is so good, but like just objectively to be hit out of the blue with 8th, her worst result. That's insane.
Crazy. The consistency level is out of this world, and that's why she's the dominant player that she is, and is a favorite in basically every single tournament that she will ever enter. At least coming up, that's for sure. But moving on to the MPO side, Ricky's first round -16, 11-19 rated round, absolutely insane, is the 3rd highest rated of all time, but in my book, 2nd highest rated of all time because, Memorial. I said McMorial. It was Paul McBeth, but the Memorial ratings get a bit of an asterisk. And now Paul's -14, the highest rated round of all time, -14 at Maple Hill. Absolutely insane. This would come in at 2nd behind that if you don't include ones from the Memorial.
And this is the best rated round in the last decade.
Yes, and the highest rated round ever in the continent of Europe. Highest rated round outside of the US ever, which is just absolutely insane. Ricky now has 10 1100 plus rated rounds of all time. That's the most of all time. He has 10. Paul McBeth has 7. Will Schusterick has 6, and Eagle McMahon and Anthony Barella both have 3 apiece. Ricky has 10. That's so wild. He also had...
I wonder how long it's going to take for Gannon to get on this list. And by the time he's done, how many he's going to have. Like, he could absolutely challenge Ricky for this title over time.
Yeah, the problem is, as he's getting better, so is a lot of the rest of the field, which is keeping his kind of ratings from being so astronomically higher than everybody else. Like getting up into the 1100 rated rounds, just because there's so many other people that are good as well. But Gannon, of course, is the most consistent with it, where, he might not shoot the hot round every round, but the rounds that he's not shooting the hot round, he's like 1 off the hot round. And it's like, okay, it's a little hard to keep up with. But Ricky also had an event average of 1073, which is insanely only the 4th best Elite Series or major event rating this season, behind his own 1080 rating at Krokol, which was the 6th highest of all time. 1076 from Barella at Texas States, and 1074 from Gannon Burr, also at Texas States. I kind of forgot that they both had that insane Texas States tournament, which is, I think they both had 1,100 rated rounds during that tournament in different rounds, I think on back-to-back days. But crazy. 4th best Elite Series, this major rating this season at 1073. Insane. And Ricky now in his last 7 events has gone 3rd at Portland, 2nd at Beaver State Fling, 1st at Preserve, 11th at Swedish Open, a little bit of a blip there. Then 1st at Crokle, 2nd at European Open, 1st at European Disc Golf Festival. Absolutely on a heater for Ricky. And I think at least one person was pretty happy about Ricky's performance during this tournament because of our picks. Let's throw it over to you, Galen, to talk about that.
I don't know. Do we have to? Can we just skip over this segment for a quick second? No, Sean's shaking his head. All right. I guess. So we'll start with you, Mr. Robbie, choosing Kristen Tatar and Ricky Wysocki, and with the worst result of Kristen's career at this time, still averaging a 4.5, Kristen in 8th and Ricky in 1st for a total of 9. 9 divided by 2. Call me crazy, I think is 4.5. Sean had Gannon and Silva Saarinen, both finished 10th. A rare sort of symmetry there for any of us, like besides those couple of weeks where Robbie was running away with firsts on everything. Sean taking 10th, averaging 10th. And pretty big discrepancy for me. I had Big Money Missy taking down 1st overall in FPO. And then I took Nicholas Antala, who had a bit of a rough weekend, finishing at 31st in MPO. So 31-1, 32, average 16. Bit of a spread there. I think we all had some bright spots, though. I mean, you had Ricky in 1st. Kristen's never going to let you down. Sean's got consistency. I had Big Money Missy in 1st. So I'm not going to complain. I think there was a lot to love there. Unless anybody has anything else to add, I don't want to preempt that. I'm happy to throw to what's coming up next. No,
I was just gonna say, not
on there, buddy.
You say not a letdown, and it's crazy to say Kristen Tatar 8th place is a letdown, but I finally get the first pick with her in the field, and can finally pick Kristen for once this season. And this is the result that she gives me. So, little bit of a disappointment, coming from, the reigning world champ, but,
very surprising.
It's definitely surprising, but, I think I'll give her a pass on this one. If I get the opportunity to pick her over, some other people in the future, I probably still will.
And I was surprised that, Gannon and Silva didn't do better.
Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, Silva had a great rounds at the European Open the week before, and Gannon won the thing. And then they both kind of took the week off in Estonia, I guess, or something. I don't know.
I was going to say, you could almost say the same thing about Kristen and Gannon, coming off of major wins and having that kind of major hangover. And not having the best performance the week after. That's what I'm going to go with, at least.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah. So,
like that. Yeah.
That's my reasoning.
What we're going to go with next is our recap of the Ledgestone Open. The biggest disc golf tournament in the world was back in scorching hot Peoria, Illinois last weekend. Hot. To say that this event is massive is truly an understatement. When you factor in all of the amateur players who are also playing in the tournament, there are over 2,300 players in the event, spread across 16 courses, and it lasts more than a week when you include all the flex starts and side events. In the pools, the player pools, normally it's like Pool A, Pool B. It goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, W. Like it goes down to W.
Jeez.
There are so many player pools because this tournament is so huge. Whole bunch of Ontario. Our friends went down there. As we mentioned, Tobin was there. What an amazing, huge event. Unfortunately, with Champions Cup being moved to Northwood Black earlier this year, the 4-round event was frankly a bit of a snooze fest to watch. Unless you want to watch a spotter accidentally get in front of a giant roller from Garrett Gerthy. So each the MPO division played 4 days over at Eureka Temp, and Gannonburr, once again ran away with it. Starting in round 2, he finished at the end of the event with a 7-shot lead over Ezra Robinson. FPO was over at Sunset Hills for 4 rounds, and similar to MPO, Holland Handley put her foot on the gas in round 2 and didn't stop until she finished with her own 7-stroke lead over Lisa Fakis, which is a name we haven't heard much from this season. So that was nice to see her pop off. We're also really happy to see that friend of the show, Chantel Badinsky, had a great event, and she made the cut on the final day and took home some cash, finishing in 21st. But yeah, it's kind of a boring tournament to kind of watch without Northwood Black in the mix. Robbie, let's go over to you. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely a little more boring just playing 4 rounds on one course. I think that's a lot. Even, it gets away with it a little bit because it's Maple Hill, but the MVP Open 4 rounds at Maple Hill it's a lot for one course. I'm never the biggest fan of that many rounds at one course. Now, what I do like is that they at least had, I think it was 3 different holes that had alternate pin positions for 2 of the rounds. So they had at least a little bit of variety there. It would be nice to see, 18 different pin placements, even if it's just slightly, like making it, instead of being a slightly left finishing hole, make it a slightly right finishing hole. It doesn't have to be, super crazy finishes, but enough to just give it variety and not make it feel like it's the same for all 4 rounds in a row. But Ledgestone is still always great to watch. And yeah, there's a couple stats I was able to dig up for this one. Gannonburr now ties Simon Lizotte for 9th all time in most career Elite Series and major wins with 9. And he's now 2 behind Calvin Heimberg on that list as well. But his 65 career starts at Elite Series and major events is the fewest of anyone with at least 4 wins, 60 fewer than Simon. And I didn't do the exact math on it, but it looks about 50 fewer than Calvin as well. So just an insane win percentage for someone so young in this era of disc golf, where it is the deepest the field has ever been. This season, in 17 starts, Gannon has an average finish of 4.65, only missing the top 10 once and getting on the podium in 47% of those events. Absolutely insane consistency. And he's now cashed at 25 straight events dating back to last year's Des Moines Challenge in June. And in that span has earned a whopping $131,821 in just tournament winnings. He, of course, secured a nice new contract for himself in the offseason as well. So needless to say, the 19-year-old is not hurting for money these days. I wouldn't think. Over on the FPO, didn't have as much that I could dig up here, but All in Handley does take it down, which is great for somebody on the picks side once again. But she also this season has the most podium finishes of anybody in the FPO field with 9, actually 2 more than anybody else this season. And she has the 4th best average finish of 4.8 this season, which also the fact that 4.8 is the 4th best average finish in FPO is absolutely insane to think about what that top end consistency of FPO is like. Throwing it over to some topics for discussion. It looks like for those, little peek behind the curtain, we got some live show note additions sometimes, and I'll just throw it over to one of you two, whoever wants to take what was just added in to the show notes on little live.
Yeah, well, as the local authority on slip and slide parties and putts, I'm happy to take this one, Robbie. So Sean's commentary here, but I agree with it that The FPO slip and slide party that went on after was perhaps the most entertaining part of the event. I think that Sean will slide in either here or at another time in the show some footage here. But yeah, like as I recently learned from experience, slip and slides and disc golf go really, really well together.
Well, yeah.
And I think anytime you can inject some fun into just like very routine, like, oh yes, I will practice my putts from 40 feet and I can throw a 500-foot perfect drive and just do fun stuff in and around disc golf. Life is pretty good. So I had the opportunity also to play disc golf in and around a slip and slide recently. Nowhere near as well as the FPO players that were involved here, but it's a good time always, and really enjoyed. After Sean made me aware that this happened because I was in BC and not paying as much attention to disc golf as I would like that this happened. Glad to see the footage and how much freaking fun it looked like. That these FPO players were hitting a slip and slide and hitting some putts. I would imagine you could expand on that, Sean, because you were the one to sort of throw this to us, but looked like a heck of a time.
Not much to add. Definitely check out Pro Raven Klein's Instagram. I'll put a link in the show notes. She was the amazing videographer, filming while sliding down, especially Ella's taking the pass ultimate style, spinning and nailing a putt while sliding down. Super sick move. Sadly, a terrible foot fault, but that's okay. We will we will let it slide, so to speak. Yeah, it's super fun to watch and an otherwise meh event. But how did we do in our picks there, Galen?
Yeah, second sickest slip and slide move by any disc golfer in the past week and a half or so. Yeah, leave it there. Interesting picks for the weekend because I think this is their first average DNF. I had Ricky, who didn't wind up playing, and I had Big Money Missy, who took sixth. And I was trying to decide earlier how you could average 6 and didn't play. And I think Sean did it for me and just average DNF me, which, I'm sure there was an ulterior motive there, but I think that's fair enough. Sean had Owen and Calvin. Owen, who finished in 5th, and Calvin in 3rd. So, if you average 3 and 5, you get 4. So average 4th. And Robbie, really, really terrible picks for this tournament. He had Holland in 1st and Gannon in 1st. Man, I understand that you're decent at playing this game. I know it's not necessarily for you when you're like thinking about disc golf. Great effort with the average of 1st overall picks. I know you were trying your best, but you got the next time, buddy.
3 out of 4 winners picks in this episode. Let's go.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it was fine. It's all right. I've seen better picks before.
When I was on my heater streak and couldn't stop picking winners, that's when you saw a better streak. And you know what? I think maybe I might get another streak going now because I'm coming off of a 1-1 finish, and I'm feeling confident going into what's coming up to have another 1-1 finish. But let's throw it over to you again, Galen, and let's talk about what's coming up on the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not talking about any good results for you coming up, but the tournaments for sure. Yeah, no. So after Ledgestone, the Disc Golf Pro Tour is going to be swinging on over to Burlington, Kentucky, not Ontario. Calm down, you local disc golf fans. The 16th stop on this year's tour, the 2024 LWS Open at Idlewild. Last year in MPO, a young man you may have heard of before by the name of Gannon Burr took the tournament down with a cool neg 32. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. We'll check on that. Cool neg 32 with Calvin Heimberg and Isaac Robinson hot on his heels at neg 30 and neg 28 respectively. So, a little bit of intrigue there. Not too much of a runaway win. And over in FPO, we had Valerie Mondahano coming up huge with a neg 991 rated event, which included a scorching 1004 rated first round, good for her 4th best rated round ever. And she took the whole event down by a healthy 6 strokes over Owen Scoggins 8 over Missy and Holland Hanley, and 9+ over everybody else. So not a whole lot going on over there in FPO. Val just took it down. She ran with it, and we'd love to see it. As far as the tournament this year, 15 years after its inception, Idlewild still promises some excitement. The course has a bit of everything, everything from a 1,000-foot par 5 to tight 280-foot holes, from long straight bombs, from landing zone to tight dog legs that won't accept anything but the best shot shaping the pros have to offer. To quote the DGPT's website, this course is ready to test the best, Robbie Holden. Ready to test.
That sounds like marketing.
Weren't invited. Yeah, no. DGPT, if you want to get in on this, we're always happy to take on new sponsors. And this year, Gannon is going to be attempting to repeat against a full stacked field of 107 of the best. From Ricky, I think he was obviously off for our last major event. I think he's back. He's registered, certainly. From Ricky, assuming he gets out, to Calvin, to Simon, to Chris Dickerson, to Matty O. Gannon, this kid's going to have his work cut out for him. And Val Mondahano is not going to have an easy path either. The only notable absence is a big one. Odds-on favorite, we were talking before. Odds-on favorite week in and week out, Kristen Tatar, is not registered. But Kristen's lack of attendance notwithstanding, the path to victory for Valerie, or any other female pro for that matter, won't be easy. Whether it's Own, Holland, Big Money Missy, Kat Murch, or friends of the show, Natalie Ryan, Rebecca Cox, the big guns will be there, and I am sure they will be firing. So I'll throw over to you first for any thoughts you guys want to add and your picks, and then I will chime in. So for picks this week, we'll go Sean, and then Galen, and then Robbie. So I'm going to go to you first, Sean, for any thoughts on the tournament and your picks, and I'll hop back in briefly, and then over to Robbie. So Sean, what are you looking forward to at Idlewild, and who do you like to take it down?
I like we're going back into the woods. For most of this course, there's some long bomber open court holes, but I really like watching the Idlewild course. Lots of fun woods golf, some a little bit of risk with some water. It's a great course to watch, and hopefully it's not going to be a snooze fest like
FBO last year,
like Ledgestone was this year. So hopefully we don't have two back-to-back kind of boring tournaments to watch.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get a little more excitement. In terms of my picks, I'm going to go, let me see here, who's actually playing this event this year? Ricky, I think he's a little injured right now. So, I think he popped a rib or something out in Europe. And so he's not going to be my pick. I'm a little worried. he did well, of course, in Europe. Will he do well at Idlewild? I don't know. He sat out Ledgestone, but maybe that's given him lots of good ice bath time or whatever it is that he does. So I'm not going to pick him, but I am going to take Gannon Burr. He's just doing too damn well right now not to pick him. And I'm sure I have stolen the pick from one of you guys. Over on FPO, Val definitely crushed it last year, but she hasn't been making much of a scene this year. Kristen is not coming over until the CCR Open or Worlds or whatever it is that she's playing first. It's just wild. I'll take, let's see here, Own, Missy, or Holland. I'm not going to go Own. I think I'll take Missy. I'll take Big Money Missy to keep that money train rolling.
Like it.
I'm going back double Gannons.
Yeah, Gannon squared. Served me well, not perfectly, but served me well a few weeks back. Love it. Yeah. So I am going to take a rare opportunity to screw over Robbie here on the FPO side, and he has been hogging Holland Hanley this entire season, and I've had just about enough of it. So I'm going to take Holland on FPO.
Great pick, mostly because it was Robbie's.
yeah, I know you're not actually a fan of my picks, but anytime we can screw over Robbie, it's a good time. So I'll take Holland. And on the MPO side, I am going to hedge my bets. We had, again, how the sausage is made. We got a group chat going on Facebook Messenger amongst the three of us. And last week, I had chosen Ricky before we knew, or, last episode, before we knew that he wasn't going to play. And I got shut out. I got iced out because he, after we chose not to play. So I am going to choose as my actual pick, Ricky Wysocki. But I'm going to hedge my bets, and I haven't even talked about this with you guys because I don't care what your opinion is. I'm going to pick a backup player outside of the top 10 rated players in this event in case Ricky does not play. So if Ricky plays, Ricky's my man. And I'm going to take a massive gap here between where you guys are as far as the number of players who are playing, but not for me a massive gap as far as skill. So Ricky's my man if he's in. If Ricky's out, I got James Proctor.
Nice.
I feel like
James, hopefully it's not too hot for him to play because he dropped out of Ledgestone because it was basically a heat stroke golf.
Yeah, well, he won't have it this time. It's okay.
Yeah, no, fine.
So, good Robbie, over to you. You can't have Holland Hanley, unfortunately, so suck it. Who do you have in FPO and who do you have in MPO for?
Yeah, we've said it a couple times, but a little peek behind the curtain. We have our picks written into our show notes. And even though he said that he did it before and wasn't going to do it again, Galen actually wrote out what his picks were going to be, gave two options for both in case Sean wanted to take them, and had Own/Holland for FPO. And once Sean didn't pick either, I thought, oh, nice. Galen's going to go with Own, and I'm going to get Holland once again. But this rat bastard took her right out from underneath me, stole my girl. But I'm going to go Owen Scoggins. I mean, it was whatever one Galen wasn't going to pick there once Sean took Missy Gannon. I was going to go the opposite way. I'm going to take Own the Scoggins. Just roll with it.
You can't always get what you want.
No, right? What I was mentioning the Holland stats on the season about how she has like the fourth highest average finish this year. One of the ladies that has a higher average finish than her, or lower average finish, I guess I should say, is Owen Scoggins. So I'm gonna ride with Owen. And then in MPO, I am gonna go with a former champion of the LWS Open at Idlewild. He won it back in 2021, and he's coming off a bit of a I wouldn't say hot streak, but he's getting warmer. He finished 4th at the European Disc Golf Festival and 6th at Ledgestone last weekend, and I'm going to go with Kyle Klein.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
Good pick. I like it.
I think this is the time for Kyle to get going, and it was last year, if I'm not mistaken, where he had a really hot end of the year, where he won USDGC. This was last year, right? He's the defending USDGC champ. If I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he won USDGC and then
right now, but I think so.
And then finished second at the Pro Tour Championship. So he set like the highest earnings in a single month in disc golf history. He had like over 50K in 1 month. Just from those two tournaments. So yeah, it's Kyle Klein's season. It's getting towards the end of the year, and I'm gonna roll with him. And yeah, it was last year. He went first, second, and then second at a B tier. But USDGC and then Pro Tour Championships in a week, he made $52,000.
Solid.
Must be nice.
Very simple. Yeah, it must be very nice.
Pretty decent back-to-back weekends.
It's fine.
Especially in USD. That is a healthy payday.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's move on to one piece of disc golf non-tournament news.
I'm going to say disc golf nonsense.
Yes, it is disc golf nonsense because it's time. This has been in the show notes for a while, but we haven't had a chance because our talk goes very long. We're going to do an edition of Sean's Rule School. Just to finish up this episode, and so we can get to bed because it is late. So this came up a whopping 3 times in one round at the White Spruce Open this year. And it's a question to my co-hosts. You're playing a round. You accidentally hit your own bag with your disc. What happens next? Robbie, what do you think happens next?
I was going to say maybe Galen, if you want to take this one first, because I actually know, because I had a discussion with the tournament directors of that tournament about what happened during this event.
All right. Robbie,
Galen,
what do you
think I've covered?
What happens if you hit your own bag or your own equipment with your own disc?
So I've been lucky enough to not experience this myself. My bet, or like to be involved in asking these questions like you two have. My best guess is you get doubled up and you take a 2-stroke penalty. I know that with the updates to the rules that I think happened last year, maybe 2 years ago, you have to request a bag be moved out of the way before you take
someone else's bag.
Well, no, and that's what I'm saying. Before the person whose bag is hit takes a penalty. But if you're the person whose bag is hit, you're also the person hitting a bag. My best guess is that you're going to take a 2-stroke penalty for the hitting and for being hit. But I'm really curious where this is actually going to land, because as much as I hope not to be involved, I'm sure there will be a time in my life where I hit my own disc with my own
first part of this answer is you take a 1-stroke penalty for hitting your own equipment. Okay. There is no longer a penalty for hitting somebody else's equipment, for them or for you. It's just an accident that happens. But
unless it's a spotter that keeps your disc OB.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely.
You get. Don't even get me started. That was
then you get a stroke.
Yeah, but the issue that came up, and this is again to Galen, where do you throw your next shot from? This was the answer to this question was not known by any of the players involved.
And unfortunately, it led to a 9 being scored on a par 3.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good God.
Yeah.
So the penalty is being taken by the player whose equipment is hit.
Yeah. Where do they throw their next shot from?
Yeah. I am going to go with the next shot is going to be thrown from the equipment. Settle lie at the equipment and throw from there. I'm curious.
And Robbie, what would happen if said player did that?
Penalty stroke.
No. 2 penalty strokes for a misplay.
God. So you,
in addition to the original,
go to your previous lie. Is that what happens?
Go to the previous lie and rethrow from there. And so you would take your 1-stroke penalty. But if you play from where the disc came to rest, you take an additional 2-stroke penalty for a misplay.
Oof.
And basically the reason for this rule, as best we can figure, is that you do not want to incentivize somebody for placing their bag somewhere and then intentionally throwing to hit it, like to prevent a roll away or something like that.
Right.
So
makes
there's
sense.
no advantage to hitting your own gear. You have to go back and rethrow with a 1-stroke penalty. Anyway, so this came up, and 3 players during the tournament took 3 penalty strokes each because of this.
That's insane.
And then
so they hit the bag for the penalty and then throw from the wrong line and take 2 more.
Yep. It was only discovered afterwards when they were filling out they're trying to figure out what score to give.
Yeah.
And one of the players jumped into the rule book and was like, "Oh no!" And this was the MPO division.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, it was
not a good time.
Painful. And then there was a whole discussion afterwards about, well, now they've submitted scorecards. Have they submitted an incorrect scorecard, and do they have to?
Because that's what I was just about to say. I was like, I thought one of them also had another penalty for an incorrectly submitted scorecard to go along with it. So it was like 4 penalty strokes on one hole, basically.
Jesus.
So that wasn't the case.
Christ.
That wasn't
Okay,
the
it
case.
wasn't the case.
I actually emailed the PDGA event support and asked this question, or the rules committee, and I asked this question: would it have triggered an additional penalty for submitting an incorrect score? And the answer to that was simply no. It was sort of the honest mistake category. Let's call it. Anyway, it was very interesting, and it's important. Every start of every year is a good opportunity to reread the rule book. It changes, and sometimes you forget about these obscure little provisions, and who knows? This brings to a conclusion Sean's rule school for this week.
Can we get the Bill Nye now you know graphic?
Is that from Bill and I?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The now you know.
Now you know. No, there's the more you know, and there's now.
That's what I was. Okay, that's what I was thinking. It was the more you know star thing coming across. Yeah. Look at that. We're on the same wavelength here, Galen.
Heck yeah, brother.
And ring, ring. That's the bell. Sean's rule school has now come to a close. Class has now been dismissed, and that's going to do it for us here on Missed Mando. Thank you so much to Chandler Fry, not Kramer, and Alicia Hums for coming on for an interview. It was so great to have both of them on, and we hope everybody enjoyed the rest of the show. And for Sean Galbraith and Galen Naidu-Harris, I am Robbie Holden. This has been Missed Mando, and we will see you on the course. Y'all ready for this? I just realized we're recording and Sean has the ability to edit this into the end now.